Ooh-wee. And we are back. What's going on, everybody? In the comments, let me know how you're feeling about the sound quality and the video quality. Let me know that everything's running smooth. Had to play with some of the dials over here to make sure that we are hitting optimal feed, and just want to make sure we're doing that just right for you. So, welcome back to the show. My name's CJ. This is CJ TV. I appreciate you guys joining me today. We are covering the Mark Jensen trial, the better known as the antifreeze killer. Ethanol glycol, I believe, if I've said that right the first time, I'm going to give myself a huge pat on the back for that one because it's been a work in progress. But Mark Jensen here is the man of the hour who has now been retried. Now we are looking at from his original trial, 1998. Well, not the original trial, but when his wife was found dead in 1998. So stay tuned. We've had jailhouse snitches, we've had ex-lovers, we've had neighbors, we've had video testimony that's come in from the grave. We've had tons of stuff that's happened so far. We're day 8, part 2 of 2 for this kind of iconic trial that has really shaken up a lot of people, even close to our team here, that have had personal interactions with witnesses, jury members. It's a small community here, guys.
We're back on the record.
Share the stream if you would, please, and share your comments. Jump in, say hi, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, and
the appearances
feedback,
are the same.
positive or negative, I appreciate.
David Thompson is still on the
Got a
stand.
whole
He's
range
still
of
under
right
oath.
now.
We're going to start with the cross-examination. Who's going to do that for the defense? Go ahead, Mr. Perry.
And we're jumping into
Mr.
things
Thompson?
here, so.
Yes.
When you arrived in the Kenosha County Jail, that was on September 6, 2007, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned on direct that you were there for some bank robberies.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say yes?
Yes.
And if you want
You
the
had robbed
original
a bank in
testimony from
Gurnee,
him,
Illinois, in June of 2007.
go to my Facebook page. I'll repost the links to all of the information leading up to the original trial, including
I agree on
the original testimony and everything he said the first time
maybe you
around.
could
So
be heard
definitely
outside.
want to make sure to
I
check that
think
out.
you get a break within 30 seconds, bro.
Like I was saying, this well, I can pull it up for you guys here. For those that don't know, I put together a pretty comprehensive breakdown of all of the things that have been happening with the trial, right? So in that, I've put together all the original court paperwork stemming from 1998 up through our current date, the original walkthrough of the house with the video, and then, of course,
the
this
jury's
testimony.
outside of the courtroom. I'm looking at 90609. Indicates the witness can be asked whether the witness has ever been convicted of a crime. Number of such convictions, if the witness's answers are consistent with the previous determination of the court.
But share the stream,
I believe it was
please.
10 from Mr. Thompson. That no further inquiry may be made unless it is for the purpose of rehabilitation, the witness's character for truthfulness.
Judge, Mr. Thompson on direct didn't just say 10. Mr. Jamboys elicited what they were for. Secondly, this goes to motive in terms of the deal that he worked out. And this was discussed at that pretrial motion regarding other defense requested impeachment, and the court said about the bank robberies, and that was impeachment that the defense had available to it. And so all of that goes toward what he was facing. It's really the same as the prior witness earlier today in terms of what he was facing and the motive for reaching out to the prosecution, and also the motive that he's explained in terms of with his lawyer of trying to work something out. So for all those reasons, including the pretrial motion hearing discussion about this very topic and the ability to go into it, is the reason I asked those questions.
Do you want to say anything, Mr. Chambers?
And none of those things have anything to do with the he was asking him specific questions about the specific bank robbery. All that was asked of him on direct was, you were in there as an accused bank robber, right? And then I asked him about the relative status of bank robbers to other inmates. And I did ask him a few questions about what he was expecting to get out of this. Now, if he wants to ask about his time cuts, I've got no problem with that. But asking him specific questions about what he did in each specific prior conviction, that's off the table. That was not agreed to. And he's not asking him, well, how much time are you facing because of these alleged bank robberies, and what kind of a benefit we were expecting from the state. He could ask about that, but he can't ask about specific instances about each one of these prior convictions.
I agree. You can ask the deal that he got, what he thought about it, what time he was facing, but under 90609, you can't get into the specific convictions, the actual facts of what was the conviction for under 90609. I mean, you got plenty of leeway, is what I'm saying. But the jury knows he got charged with bank robbery.
Well, he was facing charges more than bank robbery, which is what I'm going to go into. And that's part of his motivation for saying is time to help myself in terms of all that he was facing.
So you're telling me he was facing other charges he wasn't convicted of?
At that time, yeah. And he was at that time still facing charges for bank robbery. So those weren't convictions, and I'm not asking him.
I realized I was muted
and
that
you
whole
were
time.
Convicted of it. It's in terms of what was happening at the time
So
that he
jailhouse
decided to
snitches,
help
big deal,
himself,
right? They're trying to figure out if
that
he's
he,
credible.
came up with this plan,
But you know,
the time that he reached out to the prosecution.
they already went through this
and at the
initially
time that he then testified
when they
and what
talked
it was in
about
exchange for, and then the benefit he got
the
for his
retrial,
testimony.
right?
And so because of that,
And
that's the motive evidence. So it really falls out.
they proved that he had enough information about it that
despite
was
the
not
fact that with that,
disclosed
he didn't
originally.
limit
So
himself to
just
one
saying.
answer. He said what two of them were for, or one, he said, for bank robbery, when in fact it was for things, bank robbery plus other things.
So you're saying other charges that he was not convicted for were dismissed?
Yes.
And that was part of the agreement that he got based on for his testimony.
He got a letter, and as a result of the letter, things got dismissed.
I will say this. First of all, he was facing federal bank charges. There was no state pending disposition. There was nothing that I could do directly. I did write a letter on his behalf. If he wants to ask questions about the letter that the state wrote on his behalf go for it. But what's that got to do with the specific crime, about the specifics, the specific facts about a particular bank robbery or about any other particular crime? Now, if he wants to ask him, in addition to a bank robbery, were you facing other charges? If he was facing other charges, he can ask him about that. But he can't ask him about the facts of each one of those charges. Just, you're facing other charges. And what happened as a consequence of you assisting the state? And I wrote a letter. And that's all I could do. I didn't arrange for any charges to be dismissed. And if charges were dismissed, I guess that's news to me. I didn't know that charges were dismissed.
Meanwhile,
But
he's
if
sitting
they
on
were
the stand
dismissed
being
and
like,
he knows
I don't
about it,
care. I'm free and clear,
but
dog.
that's got nothing to do with the individual facts of what going in and robbing a bank or whatever the other charges were that he's talking about.
If I could respond just once more to that.
Go ahead.
With the bank robberies, he's testified before, and I believe he would testify consistent with that those were acts of desperation. All that he had on the line when he committed those, and we compare that to what he had on the line when he saw Mr. Jensen and decided to help himself with this. And that goes also to, whether or not some of these details of him being able to be considered an armed career criminal, which enhanced the amount of sentence that he was facing in the federal system of, I think on one of them, 30 years to life. And so those details go to motive.
Well, but they're not details of this crime, and there's not details that the state inquired into, because I don't know anything about that stuff. I'm not a federal prosecutor. I will say this, Your Honor, his attorney reached out to me, and I wasn't interested in what he had to say because there's more, jail inmates wanting to talk about Mark Jensen. But then I heard the phone recordings. After his attorney approached me, then I heard these phone recordings that the court's going to be hearing next, not the ones that the court's already heard, where he's talking to family members about this. Then I wanted to talk with David Thompson. So the only deal that was made with David Thompson was, you come forward, you testify truthfully, the state's going to write a nice letter on your behalf. I'm not a federal prosecutor. I couldn't promise him anything with regard to the federal charges. Now, he was clearly hoping to get something out of it. But the specific facts of those particular charges have nothing to do with his testimony, nothing to do with his credibility. What does have something to do with his credibility that he can inquire into without violating section 906.09 is, okay, you were facing federal bank robbery charges, and then there was also apparently some other charges. As I'm sitting here, I don't even know what they were. And as a consequence of your participation in coming forward, you got a deal on that. And what was the deal? And he can ask what the deal is. I think we've got the letter here somewhere that we wrote on Mr. Thompson's behalf.
I'm not interested in Mr. Jamboy's motivation. I'm interested in Mr. Thompson's motivation. And that's what I want to inquire into in terms of what he knew, what he was facing at the time, and the reason for why he wrote to his kid's mom, it's time to help myself. And, you know, in the 90609 thing,
no one wants to be a snitch, you know what I
wide
mean?
open
So maybe he was just saying, hey
on
man,
direct.
I got to do for me.
Not just, have you ever been convicted of things? How many times? He went into specifics, and it was an incomplete specific that he went into in terms of what he was there for. And so it's what he was actually there for and the seriousness of why he was there and all that was over him, motivating him to have to help himself.
Well, I agree with both attorneys. Kind of a strange ruling, but here, you know, 90609, it's pretty specific. It says you can't get into it once the defendant says, I have my prior convictions, and there's case law on it. I'm not going to say 90609 doesn't apply. I don't have that authority. I'm not the Supreme Court. But the defendant already said he was in for a bank robber. We know that, but he didn't get into the actual specifics of his case or the facts. And that's where I think the defense is walking on in a ground where I'm not going to let them go. You can get into this deal that you think that he got. I'm not going to stop you from doing that. But you can't just get into the charges and start going into the factual basis of the charge. And that's what the state is objecting to. You're going to go and say, well, this is what he did. This is how the armed robbery happened. And basically tell the jury what I can't let you do. Now, you have an obligation to talk about credibility in the deal that he got. I'm not going to stop you there, but I'm going to stop you if you start saying, yeah, well, this is the armed robbery, just like the question you asked before the objection came out. Well, I don't know the exact facts that you mentioned, but you started to get into specific facts of the armed robbery. And that's not where you're going to go.
I will, just to complete my record on this. I'd object to this limitation and on a couple of ways. And in that November motion hearing that we've talked about earlier in this jury trial, and the state talked about its motions in limine in particular. And they said at that hearing, we don't have any problem with Judge Schrader's prior rulings except for these enumerated things. Okay, and all of this that I was about to ask him, all of this came in 2008. All of these
Facts of the armed robbery?
Yes.
But Your Honor, here's the thing.
I have page citations for everything that I'm about to ask Mr. Thompson.
And was there an objection, and did the court actually have to rule on it? The fact is, in August 14th of 2017, the defense filed a motion to compel discovery of documents related to prosecution informant witnesses, and this witness is one of them. And with respect to David Thompson, their representation was, at the time of the Jensen trial, David Thompson was awaiting sentencing on 2 federal bank robbery charges following a guilty plea, which he'd entered on January 14th, 2008. At the time, he was facing 68 years to life imprisonment, and Mr. Thompson testified that he did not believe that Mr. Jamboys had jurisdiction over his federal cases, which were in Illinois, but they'd already signed his plea agreement, and they'd not been offered anything in exchange for his testimony in the Jensen case. He did not receive any concessions from the U.S. attorney as a result of his cooperation. However, during an October 10th, 2007 interview with Mr. Thompson, Mr. Jamboys told Mr. Thompson he would be happy to write a letter to the judge describing Mr. Thompson's cooperation, participation, and his agreement to testify. Mr. Thompson also told his fiancée over the phone that he expected credit for his cooperation in the Jensen case. All of those things are appropriate to talk to him about on cross-examination. So he was apparently, at the time he was incarcerated, he had already pled to 2 bank robbery charges that had occurred in the state of Illinois. They were federal bank robbery charges. And at that time that he was being interviewed, or the time he was testifying in 2008, I was a special prosecutor in the state case of State versus Mark Jensen. So I would have no direct ability to influence that beyond doing what I promised to do, which is write him a letter and write a letter on his behalf, and which I did, and he's probably got a copy of that letter. And in that letter, I indicated that Mr. Thompson testified truthfully and that his testimony was important and that it benefited the state.
Let me look at that November 21st hearing again, just for a second here.
November 21st. Okay. Can you pull it up?
See anything in that hearing where I said you can get into the actual facts of the bank robbery? I told you could get into the convictions and the consideration that he got.
Well, I'm combining that with the representation from the state that the only things that they would be objecting to from prior rulings from Judge Schrader were enumerated in their motions in limine. And I believe you said there's plenty of impeachment with these bank robberies and all that he was facing. So I don't have it right in front of me.
I have it in front of me.
Okay.
I just read it.
I mean, this is motive. It's honestly with these, the details of the bank robbery, there's later where he's lying to the FBI. That's 90608 sub 2, specific acts of untruthfulness that I'm allowed to ask about. It's all the details of what he was facing when that motivated him. I'm not asking, I'm not going through, we settled on 10, right, for prior convictions. The details I want to ask about are the ones that he was facing at the time that he reached out, that he wrote this letter to his kid's mom.
And like I said, I'm not going to deny it, but I don't think you can get into the facts of the conviction under 90609. Unless you got a case that says that the judge doesn't have to abide by that statute anymore.
Well, if I could have just a couple of minutes, because when the answer wasn't limited to just 10, it was a specific answer about what some of them were for. I believe that opens that
He
up.
didn't deny the 10. He didn't say 9 or 8 or 12.
Agreed. But then it was, what is it you were in the jail for? And he said, bank robberies, or you were in the jail for bank robberies. And that's an incomplete answer. And it's the question that was asked, but it's a misleading impression when he was actually there for bank robberies, for being felon in possession of a firearm, for marijuana possession, for a theft of a firearm, for receiving stolen property, and for another theft in Wauwatosa in Milwaukee County.
Okay, Your Honor.
All of those things he was facing when he got to the Kenosha jail on September 6, 2007.
One more response, and then we're going to go. Go ahead.
So my understanding is that he was in the Kenosha County Jail as a federal inmate, as part of a contract that we had with the federal government, and that on January 14th, 2008, he had pled guilty or no contest, or whatever he pled, to 2 bank robberies in the state of Illinois. And he was awaiting sentencing on those charges. And that's why he was in the county jail. Whatever Waukesha had nothing to do with his custodial status at the time that he was involved in his conversations with Mark Jensen. He was awaiting charges on bank robbery, and he was a federal inmate. So if there were charges in Waukesha County, that wasn't why he was in the Kenosha County Jail. He was in the Kenosha County Jail as a federal inmate, and He pled to that. He pled to 2 bank robberies on January 14, 2008, without any agreement from the state of Wisconsin and without any agreement from the federal authorities, apparently. He just pled to those 2 bank robberies. So that's what he's being held for at the time that he was being interviewed by, that he was involved in this conversation with Mark Jensen. And if it's about his motive, if it's about his credibility, his motive to assist the state, what he wanted from the state was a letter to the federal authorities describing his participation. That's all he got. And so these other charges, they have, first of all, apparently they were dismissed. He wasn't convicted of those charges. And if he was convicted of those charges, it's part of the 10 that he's already testified to. So he can't go into those things. He can go into the reasons that this witness may have wanted to assist the state.
I think that Mr. Jamboys is understating the influence a letter from a prosecutor in a homicide trial has on other cases in terms of its benefit. And that was understated, I think, this morning when Mr. Dillard was testifying, in terms of it was just a letter or whatever it's going to be right now. And I think it's understated right now because it resulted in the Washington County thing where he was facing several years being just simply dismissed.
But did Mr. Jamboys write a letter to that prosecutor?
Yes, I believe so.
Your Honor, I wrote, the 2 letters that I wrote are right here. I was chief legal counsel at the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. I wrote a letter on March 11th, 2008, one to Attorney Clifford Green, who was, I believe, Mr. Thompson's defense attorney. And I wrote, and I'll file these as exhibits. Dear Attorney Green, I've been informed that you are the attorney representing David Thompson. I prepared this letter and would appreciate if you would provide it to Judge Wayne Anderson prior to Mr. Thompson's sentencing. Thank you. Sincerely, Robert Jamboys. Then here's the letter that I attached. And this is a letter to the Honorable Wayne A. Anderson, Bloomberg Federal Courthouse in Chicago, Illinois. Dear Judge Anderson, it is my understanding that David Thompson will soon be standing before you to be sentenced for his role in 2 bank robberies. I don't know anything about the circumstances surrounding those 2 incidents. However, I do think you should know that David Thompson recently testified in the case of State of Wisconsin, State versus Mark Jensen, 02 CF 312 I have here, and it's actually 314. During the course of his incarceration in the Kenosha County Jail, Mr. Thompson became acquainted with Mark Jensen, who stood accused of the murder of his wife, Julie Jensen. Mr. Thompson testified in the Jensen case that Mark Jensen had solicited him to arrange to have a witness named Ed Klug, quote, sat on, unquote, or kidnapped in order to prevent Mr. Klug from testifying. The state had intercepted and recorded telephone conversations between Mark Jensen and various family members, which corroborated Mr. Thompson's testimony. I stress that Mr. Thompson never actually intended to participate in a kidnapping scheme. Rather, it was his intent to induce Mark Jensen to participate in such a scheme so that he could testify on behalf of the state in this matter. I believe that David Thompson testified truthfully in this matter. Furthermore, he was of substantial assistance to the state in the successful investigation and prosecution of this murder case. I do hope that you will consider this as a mitigating factor when deciding upon an appropriate sentence for Mr. Thompson. Now, that's what I did. And at that time, as I said, I was chief legal counsel at the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. I wasn't even a prosecutor anymore, but I had been the special prosecutor in the Mark Jensen case. As you recall, I'd left to go off to be chief counsel at the DOJ.
Yeah, I love that Mr. Thompson on the stand there is just like, I don't care about anything y'all are saying. Because guess what? I got out and I avoided 30 years to life. So I'm chilling in a nice red sweater as opposed to a red jumpsuit. So ask me whatever you want to ask me.
This letter had on the judge. And it would also be purely speculative for this court.
He might be getting like a stipend to be there. You know what I mean? Who knows? But you know, he's there. He's doing his part.
To the defense attorney in as an exhibit, and the second letter to Judge Anderson as an exhibit. I don't know what the exhibit numbers are, but I'll provide them to the clerk right now.
But share the stream if you would, please, guys. While we're doing this back and forth, it'd be good to have.
I presume that it was. I don't know, but I wrote it to him, so I imagine I was told he was a defense attorney.
So we don't have any other letters that
some folks get in here.
Mr. Thompson for consideration. So why are you telling me there's another letter?
Well, it was my understanding that there was another letter detailing cooperation.
I'd love to get down there.
Mr.
Well,
Thompson
yeah.
is aware of that,
Keep
that
your eyes
he,
peeled. I think I might jump in
received the benefit
to
from it.
court
The
today,
Washington County
actually, for a
stuff
little
all
bit.
got dismissed.
And
Where's the letter?
where's the letter? He says.
Well, I don't have it in
I'm
front of me. I
I'm
don't
not
have
going
it.
to show you the letter.
I believe that we are looking too far down the road, that the motive that makes this relevant is the information, the knowledge that Mr. Thompson had on September 6th, 2007, when he decided he would help himself by proposing this suggestion to Mark Jensen, and then by reaching out to the prosecutors. And all of that is his motive. I'm not suggesting that Mr. Jamboys contacted him in advance and said, if you come up with a plan, if you talk to Mark Jensen, this is what I'll do for you. I'm saying it's the other way around, that Mr. Thompson had storm clouds had gathered in terms of everything that he was facing, and he made a decision, and then whatever he got out of it with the state, he got out of it. But the things that he was facing at the time that he made that decision is motive evidence, and that's always relevant.
Well, I don't disagree with, he's getting a deal or whatever legal term you want to use. Like I said, I'm not going to stop you from going there, but you're talking about some letter to a Waukesha court or judge that doesn't exist. It's not in evidence.
He said
We
some
do have
letter.
the 2 letters that Mr. Jamboys wrote. Obviously, that's all relevant. And as indicated, the Waukesha charges were dismissed or not convictions. So everything you tell me is the opposite of 90609. If it's not a conviction, it's not coming in.
Because it's not 90609 evidence, because it's motive evidence.
I'm not stopping you as to motive that he got the consideration. So you can go there, but you're not going to get specific.
So if I just want to be clear, I understand where the court's drawing the line. Okay. So I can get into what he was facing, not specific factual allegations of what he was
I
facing.
don't want you reading the criminal complaints is what I'm getting at.
Not
And
to
that's
do
what
that.
you started to do.
Well, actually, I mean, I said that he had robbed a bank in Gurney, Illinois in the date. But
That's what's in a criminal complaint.
yeah, it usually is. It ought to be. If it was a bank robbery from June of 2007, and this is the maximum penalty we're facing,
That's fine.
all okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
The things that he didn't testify about that he was facing, maximum penalties, all fine?
If it's part of the deal, it's fine.
Wait, the things that he didn't testify about, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you're saying. I mean, my understanding is this: you can ask him what.
That was a Daryl Brooks
his
question.
motivation.
Well, how is it that
He
you
was facing,
are not able to recall the things you don't
significant
remember?
Imprisonment on 2 bank robbery charges.
Legit
At the
question.
time of his trial, at the time of the trial where he testified in this case, he'd already entered pleas. He already entered pleas to 2 bank robberies without any agreement from the state at all. It was an agreement between him and the federal authorities. And then, so he was facing sentencing at the time of this trial that he testified at in 2008. He hadn't entered the pleas at the time that he reached out to the state and was talking to us about his conversations with Mark Jensen. But he negotiated apparently some kind of an agreement with the federal authorities without utilizing anything from this office. And so at the time that he was testifying, he'd already pled to 2 bank robbery charges.
I don't care what he had pled to at the time of testifying. I care about what he was facing on September 6, 2007, when he put this plan into motion.
I'm not certain what that's for, Karen. If you'd let me know, please.
We're done talking. You can get into the charges that he was facing. You can't get into the actual facts according to 90609.
Okay.
Okay.
with the
90609, there we go.
clarification
There we
that
go.
I asked for earlier,
I'm afraid to listen to you because we're going to continue.
it's all okay. I don't want to. I understand the court's ruling. I think.
I mean, like I said, you can't say, well, by the way, you were in the bank robbery. You're the one that put the gun to the teller. You're the one that demanded the money.
I mean, I'll say
We're not going that way.
All the details,
came in
whatever got you to the
2008.
point where you were in court and
The state
being
knew
convicted
this.
of a crime.
the state didn't seek to exclude
Like-
it, and they didn't seek to exclude it pre-trial.
But I still can make a ruling, can't I?
You can, but in terms of
He gives you permission.
other rulings in this case, especially when the state had represented at that hearing, that all fine with rulings from Judge Schrader. The ones were not. We've got this enumerated list of motions in limine.
Pardon me?
That was before the
Don't
defense
get
testimony.
brazen with
Don't
me.
rely on that.
He's talking about these Washington County cases. The complaint in the Washington County case was filed on October 11th, 2007. So it was a month after he'd already been having these conversations with Mark Jensen. So there's no possible way that his ultimate, whatever happened to him in Washington, had anything to do with this. He didn't even know about the charges in Washington in September of 2007 because the charges weren't filed until October 11th, 2007.
It was to me. Nobody told me that.
So now, well, we just started looking it up.
Nobody
Because I
told
thought
me
that
that.
if
That's
Fly
not
was
what
gonna
you
be
told
asked
me. You didn't
questions
tell
about
me
this
that. I
in
didn't hear that.
Washington, because
Tell him
the
what you
only
told me.
charges he was facing at that time were
That's
these
not what you told
charges,
me.
these federal bank robbery charges. He was there because he was a federal inmate.
What's up,
on these
Nate?
two bank robbery charges,
Screenshot.
which has nothing to do with Washington, and that's why this is so unfair.
That's the Bruin
You know,
behind
we
you.
did have these
The
rulings.
Bruin.
We did have these arguments in advance. We're not supposed to be having this conversation now, and we're having the conversation because he ignored the court's ruling.
I'm
Mic
shocked
drop.
To find out the complaints were filed.
She went up and said,
They weren't. I mean, well,
job.
Well,
Good
then
job.
now you're telling me they
Give him
weren't.
the
It's got to
business.
be one or the other.
the filing date, the date of offense predates when he got there in terms of what he had been arrested
Where
for.
they filed. You guys got to have CCAP records.
The offense date was August 26,
I'm not
2007.
talking about the offense date. I'm talking about when the complaint was filed.
The complaint was filed in October of 2007. His knowledge of what he had been arrested for, what he was facing, and all predating
The complaints weren't even filed
his
yet.
testimony.
They weren't even filed. You're acting like he's on the Supreme Court of the United States. All this legal. If they were filed afterward, we're not going to get into them.
If I could have just a minute to
We're done.
double check.
I'm going to give you a minute to get ready, and I'll bring out the jury. I let you make your record. I think I was patient enough. Okay, bring out the jury.
I'll give you a minute to get your shit together. That's about it. I'm done listening to you talk. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, he got Schroeder. This dude's an old timer. He just wants to get home and watch, like I said, watch old reruns of Magnum PI or Gunsmoke and just, chill out. This guy wants to fire up an old fashioned and just sip bourbon and talk about how much he hates the neighbor kids for riding their bicycles across his lawn, or how much the seagulls are tearing up his flowers. He just wants damn seagulls in my yard eating up all my damn flowers. I just planted those azaleas and these damn kids riding their damn bikes across my damn yard. He does not care. He's just like, shut up and let's move on. He's like, it's about 3:00. Let's call it a day. As a matter of fact, it's been a long weekend. Let's come back next week, next Thursday. What do you guys think? I love this judge. He's great. Judge Schroeder, though, he was a G. Now, Judge Darrow, she was on another level. That woman is in saintly status. That woman had the grace of a god. The way she had to handle
All right, the jury's back.
DB.
We're back on Mark Jensen.
The one, the only.
Thank you for your patience.
And if you don't recall,
Gentlemen, you can continue with your cross, Mr. Perry.
the what?
You testified on direct that when you got to the Kenosha County Jail on September 6, 2007, you were there because of federal bank robberies, correct?
Yes.
Do you know what you were facing in those federal bank robberies?
Well, the maximum penalty was 20 years apiece, but I was only facing like 5 years.
You only thought you would get like 5 years.
Well, I figured it out through the sentencing guidelines sheet that according to all my convictions, I was only looking at the maximum of 60 months.
Okay. You were facing 20 years for each bank robbery, correct?
Well, that's what the charge carries, yeah. But when you do your federal guidelines timesheet, it tells you exactly how much time you'll be getting for whatever charge you have.
When you were in the Kenosha jail facing years in prison on these bank robberies, you had a child at home with your fiance, correct?
Yes.
That's who Kim was, your
Yes.
fiance?
Well, no, she wasn't my fiance. She was just my girlfriend. We weren't, engaged or anything.
How long have you been in custody as of September 6, 2007?
September 6th to I had just got into custody then.
Fair to say that money was tight at home?
Yeah, somewhat.
Man, he was robbing banks. Things weren't great. Just saying.
Actually, yeah, somewhat. I think more so I was just being greedy. That's all.
You were being considered an armed career criminal.
It was in consideration.
An armed career criminal would make you face 30 years to life.
In feds, yes, absolutely.
Federal time is straight time. You do all your years. You don't get any good time. No good behavior, nothing. There's no
You got
third.
there on September 6th,
nothing.
and we heard these phone calls that were dated September 11th and September 12th, right?
Yes.
On September 8th, 3 days before that first phone call, you wrote a letter to Kim, right?
Yes.
In that letter, you said, "It's time to help myself."
Yes.
And by the time you wrote that letter, you had already put together a plan.
Somewhat of a plan, not a solid plan.
Because on the second or third day that you were in the jail, you learned that Mark Jensen was a defendant in a high-profile case.
Yes.
And you knew people had been beating up Mark Jensen.
Yes.
You knew he was getting beaten up and that people were taking his canteen money.
Yes.
And I don't know if everyone knows what canteen money is, but that's money for coffee, sandwiches, toothbrush, soap, really anything you might want to buy at the jail, right?
Yes.
And you knew that people were just kind of taking this stuff from him.
Yes.
You knew he had been beaten up for not giving people his food.
Yes.
You approached him and you wanted him to make a phone call for you.
Yes.
And he didn't, right?
Yes.
And you hit him.
No, I didn't hit him.
You said you had a little altercation with him?
Yeah, he promised me on three separate occasions that he would make this phone call to me, and I told him either you're gonna do it or don't do it. Don't keep lying to me, and that's what upset me.
It's your testimony that you did not hit him.
No, I shoved him. I didn't hit him.
You wanted him to call your fiance for you.
Yes.
And by the third time after the altercation, he made the call?
Yeah, I think a couple of days later he made the phone call for me. Yeah.
You asked again, you asked again. You shoved him, and then he made the call?
No, not in that fashion. No, he didn't make the call until after I apologized to him and we became somewhat closer.
You told him, "Don't play with me"?
I told him stop lying to me.
You stole his commissary too.
No, I never stole anything from him. You didn't have to steal anything from him. He would give it away freely.
He made a phone call, and you took the phone from him and talked to his parents.
No.
This is just not working out for old plaid tie here. I don't think that this is the case that I was planning on giving to Mr. Thompson here. Not working out for him. It's funny when you deal with an ex-con or someone who's been through the business. Just kind of get to that point where I don't think these people really, he doesn't give a shit. He's like, whatever, man.
You didn't take the phone from him?
No, I didn't take the phone from him. He gave me the phone. I didn't take it from him.
You decided to try to suggest a plan to Mark Jensen and then report it to the prosecutor.
No.
You were going to try to convince Mark Jensen to get involved in a plot, right?
No. I was just trying to trick Mark Jensen out of some money. That was my only plan.
That was how you were going to help yourself?
No, if you let me finish it, I'll explain to you how I was going to help myself. I wanted to trick Mark out of the money. That was the initial plan. Once everything got recorded on the telephone, my lawyer told me that that they recorded all the phone calls, and he told me to come forth and be truthful before I end up getting a different charge. And that's when I came forth and told everything that happened as it did. I wasn't gaining anything from telling the truth other than preventing myself from getting another charge.
You're the one that suggested this plan about Ed Klug to him.
No. I didn't even know Ed Klug, so how could I suggest a plan to him?
After you remember testifying in this case before?
Yes.
January 14th, 2008, counselor directing you to 107. Question. Well, you're the one who suggested that.
Hey.
Answer. Okay. Question true. Answer. If that's yeah. Is that your testimony?
Yeah, Mark has a hearing issue. That's why he's got the earpieces in.
Question. Well, you're the one who suggested that. Answer. Okay. Question true. Answer. If that's yeah.
Well, I mean, suggested what? What are you saying I suggested?
You better suggest what you think I suggested.
106. Question, well, it was your idea from what you've testified to that you were going to talk to him about getting rid of a witness, right? Answer, I wouldn't say I really initiated that plan. I just went along with what he was talking about and fed it to him.
Absolutely, I did that.
What did you say up here?
You fed him the details.
No, I didn't feed him details. He asked me a series of questions, and I gave him an answer that I thought he would accept.
John hit that on the head. Yeah, I did that.
Mark Jensen had told you that Ed Klug was lying, right?
He said he was lying, but if he was lying, why did he want to get rid of him?
You tried to get Mark to put money in your commissary.
I asked him, yes. I didn't force him. I asked him.
You tried to get Mark to give you $500.
Yeah, I tried to trick him out of $500, absolutely.
I mean,
you tried to get Mark to involve himself so you could help yourself with your pending charges.
No, Mark involved himself when he mentioned to me that he needed something to happen to the guy that was testifying against him. That's when he involved himself. I didn't mention that to him.
You testified on direct about what your lawyer told you to keep doing, right?
My lawyer told me to shut up before I got myself in trouble.
Your lawyer told you just keep talking to Mark about your plan.
No, well, where did you read that at? You see my lawyer with that statement?
Yeah. He said, "What? Don't tell me what I said when I didn't say what I said." No, I believe David Thompson is out free. Jam and Jet. It's funny because Mark, I think, would love to work in the penal system as well.
On October 10th, 2007.
Or work a penal into his system.
Yes.
Well, just saying.
At the top.
Let me get to it here, please. Oh, here we go. Page 4. Starting with what?
Starting with probably the fourth sentence. So I go to court and I mentioned it to my lawyer, Mr. Green. And he said, well, just keep talking to him. And if something comes up, just let me know.
Right. There you go. That's what happened. Right. Wasn't like you just said.
And so what you did is you just kept talking to him, and finally he agreed he would pay.
Well, no, he did all that before I even talked to my lawyer. All that occurred prior to that.
Well, the sentence after what I had just read from October 10th, 2007 says, so I kept talking to him, and finally he agreed he would pay to have the dude held, or if push come to shove, completely taken out of the picture.
Yeah, those were his words. Yes.
So you just kept talking to him, and finally he agreed.
No, he agreed long before that. He brought the idea to me. He said he needed something done to his guy that was testifying against him. And I said I might be able to help you with that.
Now, your plan.
Did you see those words in there, right? Where I said I might be able to help you with that, right? You do see that in there, right?
Your plan was you were going to keep Mr. Klug in his house until any trial was over.
Absolutely.
A 6-week trial.
It was all fictitious. It never was going to happen. I just wanted the money.
Your plan was this would all happen for $1,000.
Yeah, that's what I told him.
You were gonna kill somebody for $1,000.
No, I was locked up. How was I going to do anything to anyone?
No money ever exchanged hands, did it?
Nope.
The deal was that Mr. Jamboys was going to write a letter to the federal sentencing court, right?
There was no deal.
That's not a deal.
That was not a deal. It was a deal is when you put your signature on something and the judge and you accept it. That's a deal. I didn't do any of that.
On October 10th, 2007, you met with Mr. Jamboys, right?
Yes.
And in that discussion, he said he'd be happy to write a letter to the judge describing your participation and agreement to testify, right?
No, not in agreement to testify, but in agreement for my cooperation during the process of the trial. The agreement was for me to be truthful about what happened on the telephone calls. That's what the agreement was. That's what kept me out of further trouble, is testifying to the telephone calls.
Page 72 of January 14th, 2008. Starting at the bottom line, going into the top of page 73. Question. And at that time, Mr. Jamboys told you that he had told your attorney, and he's telling you this, that he had told your attorney he'd be happy to write a letter to the judge describing your participation in the case, your cooperation with the authorities in the case, and your agreement to testify. Answer, yes. Question, right? Answer, yes, yes.
Well, as you said, he told my attorney that, not me.
And you were part of this October 10th, 2007 recorded interrogation.
With my lawyer and Mr. Jamboys? No.
That's when this
All
was,
three of us?
That's
No.
when this was said.
That probably was just me and my lawyer.
You were required to be truthful to any question posed by Mr. Jamboys, right?
To any question posed by anyone on the court.
In order to get this letter from Mr. Jamboys, you had to be truthful, correct?
Of course.
Truthful was as determined by Mr. Jamboys.
No, truthful as in determined by my phone calls. Because if I had attested to anything other than what was on those phone calls, I would have got charged with perjury.
Big facts. Big facts.
The federal sentencing court had the ability to sentence you up to 40 years, correct?
They had the ability, but they never do.
They were considering, at the time that you came up with this plan, considering you an armed career criminal, correct?
Yes,
Where you'd be facing 30 years to life.
absolutely.
All of this testimony and this plot was part of the plan to help yourself.
No, and I'll tell you why. I was never in possession of a firearm. I never used a firearm in the commission of my crime. The firearm was found at my house, which was later on determined to be in possession owned by Kim Nicholas, my girlfriend. It was her gun. Only thing I was charged with was having a half a pound of weed and a bank robbery.
Judge, could we have a brief sidebar?
He's about to slap somebody. Yeah, Thompson's like, man, let me tell you what's going on real quick. I don't appreciate you putting words in my mouth, but yeah. Yes, CJ is loud. Am I loud right now? Is my pickup excessively loud? Let me turn that down. Is that better? Yeah, tell me right now, is this sound quality all right for you guys? Is this loud enough or too loud? What's going on? How you feeling about this level right here?
The courtroom. Go ahead, Mr. Perry.
Better?
I didn't
Okay,
ask,
thank you.
but we just got incomplete
Appreciate that,
details
JC.
about what he was facing
Good?
in terms
Okay.
of the felon in possession of a firearm
Perfect.
and the possession of marijuana charge that that I was not supposed to go into details on. And because he's gone into it, I believe I'm entitled to ask details about that.
State want to say anything?
Your Honor, this was in response to the question about whether he was going to be charged as an armed offender in the federal
That's
charges.
not me
federal
breathing,
case against
Flora.
him. And he was responding that he'd not used a gun in the federal charge against him, in the federal case against him. So there was no possibility of him being an armed offender in the federal. Now, Mr. Thompson apparently he's not aware that, the stuff in Waukesha is off limits. So he made some reference to a gun in his residence, but that's got nothing to do with the federal charges.
He's been sitting right here this entire time.
Well, he did mention the firearm. So if it's
Is that better, guys?
connected to the robbery charge, you can get into that.
But it's not connected to the robbery charge, Your Honor, except that it's connected to whether he'd be deemed a federal armed criminal, because if under the federal guidelines, and I don't even know what they are because I don't do federal cases, apparently if you're an armed career criminal, then suddenly you're looking at 30. He'd already entered a plea on January 14th, 2008 to 2 charges of bank robbery without any armed criminal career offender status.
Thank you, guys.
I understand where you're going. But the problem I got, the genie's out of the box now when he talked about weed.
The genie's out of a
firearm to
bottle.
the jury.
The weed in the firearm is from Washington County.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
it's
saying.
the attorney breathing,
He
guys.
hadn't even been charged yet. When he was talking with Mark Jensen and we was on the phone about this stuff, he hadn't been charged with anything in Washington.
I understand, but he just mentioned it to the jury. So I'll give you a little bit. We're not going to get into 2 hours of questioning
Oh,
about.
I hope not. It's part of the federal sentencing guidelines. That was all
So,
part of it. So.
Just a little bit. I'll let you go because he mentioned it. So let's bring back the jury.
So we had that little snafu on Friday where they had the juror come stand up and say he knew the witness, but he knew him as a different person, and they went through that process. Well, they didn't mute the mic when that juror introduced themselves, and it ended up being that they read their name or they spelled their name and announced their name out loud. So just out of proper due procedure, we sent that into the court just to make sure they know that happened, so they don't end up with some kind of loophole mistrial down the line because there was a juror but the judge looked at it and said, yeah, we're good. It's fine. So we're good. So that little, people had asked me about that. And just to give you the resolution on that situation, the judge deemed that the information's okay. What it was about, basically what it came down to was, it's okay for you to know who the jurors are roughly. We're not going to advertise that, but they're going to, family, friends, they're going to know. So long as they don't talk about the case or do research on the case or anything of that nature. So that being said, yeah, all's good. And the jury's coming back in. I plan on heading down to the courthouse here this afternoon to catch the tail end of court today. So keep your peepers open. I'll be in the background there somewhere. So long as they let me in, I will see. I don't know. Maybe they'll tell me to stay out. I'll have the stream running here. I'm going to try to make it work. I'm going to try to bring it in with me. We'll see. I'm not sure how much battery life we're going to have and, how that's going to work out. So we'll see. We'll play with it a little bit. So at the end of the day today, we're going to be, if they don't end early, then we're just going to, we'll just be a normal day for us. But yeah, someone had said they could hear me breathing. That's not me breathing into the mic. It's whenever anybody, the attorneys or the witness, whenever they lean in and they're talking into the mic and they stay close, you can start hearing that breath. So I hope it's not me. You can hear breathing. There's our buddy down there in the courtroom at photographer Nate DeBrune down on the bottom there. He was a part of the Rittenhouse trial. And the photos that he was taking while the riots were taking place. Yeah. So the jury's coming back in. Yeah, it's not me, it's them. Though I tell you right now, man, I saw a meme or whatever, and the guy was like, "You wear cowboy boots because you think you're a cowboy?" And he's like, "Nah, it's because I lose my breath trying to tie my shoelaces." And I was like, "Man, I respect that, and I'm triggered, very much so by that." Man, I can tell that I've been in Wisconsin since July because, man, I tell you guys, if you're not ready for the food out here, you'll wear it. You'll wear it. I swear to God, I've probably put on like 15 pounds, 20 pounds since I got out here.
All right, we're back on the record. Mark T. Jensen.
Got to change. Got to make a change.
314. The jury's back in the courtroom. You can continue, Mr.
Never eat more cheese in my life.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Right before that break, I'd asked you that you were being considered to be charged as an armed career criminal. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And if so, you would have been facing 30 years to life.
If so, yes.
And you explained that the gun wasn't yours, but the weed was.
Yes.
That's from an offense dated 9 days before you got.
I'll go with that.
Bad.
That's
11 days before you got to the Kenosha County Jail, isn't it?
No, actually, when I got arrested on a Friday, they went to my house that Monday and conducted a search, which is when they found the marijuana and the pistol at my home. As I said, the pistol belonged to my girlfriend at the time, and the marijuana was mine. So they charged me with the marijuana and threw out the pistol case.
You told the FBI in that case that you stole that gun from a drug dealer.
Yeah, I told the FBI quite a few things.
Those were lies?
Absolutely.
You lied to protect your family?
Yes.
You didn't want your fiance to be charged with any of that.
Well, well, not.
He said
not just,
absolutely.
Not just that, but she really had nothing to do with what happened. It was all me.
Someone could clip that
Now,
portion of it
that
for me. That'd be
case,
great. So you lied to the FBI?
The
Absolutely.
disposition of it would have affected your federal sentencing guidelines, correct?
It would have, yes.
That would have drastically increased it.
Yes.
In that case alone, you were facing 14 years
There's a limit.
for the felon in possession charge of a firearm,
Yes.
7 years for the marijuana.
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. There's no evidence that the Washington case has anything to do with this
I made
case.
my ruling, and so we're going to continue limited in this area. I said.
All of that was known to you when you wrote to your fiance, Kim, recognizing Mark Jensen in the jail, learning who he was, that it was time to help yourself. Isn't that true?
To some degree, not totally true. Some of it. Because prior to I had those charges when I arrived here, and I had those charges resolved before this Mark Jensen case even took place. I had already pled to that in January.
Right. I'm talking about September 6, 2007.
Well, like I said, September is the only reason I agreed then is because of what was on the telephone. I couldn't beat that. I mean, you can't deny what's recorded. So I had to tell the truth about that. I was bound to tell the truth on that.
So You'll lie when you can. but
He's the
not
most
when you can
honest
get
liar
away
you'll
with it.
ever meet.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Known to you on September 8th. That's when you wrote the letter. It's time to help myself, right?
Somewhere around there, yeah, I guess, yeah.
No further questions.
Any further redirect, Mr. Jamwood?
So, Mr. Thompson, what are you facing right now?
Oh, nothing. I've been out of jail a long time now. Had several businesses and doing quite well.
So, where were you supposed to? You're here today in this courtroom. Where were you planning to be today before you were told you got to come to court?
Oh, I had school. I'm in school for human services, and missed
so-
class today.
You're missing class to be here.
Yes,
And what are you going to school for?
human services. I'll be a drug counselor.
And you said you've had a number of occupations. Tell us about your employment history over the last 5 years or so.
Once I got released from federal prison in 2010.
Judge, I do object to this being outside the scope.
Well, you attacked his credibility. I think the state can go back into it. So let's go.
So, once you got out of federal prison in 2010,
Yeah, well, I would say 2014.
2014.
I went back for a revocation. So since 2014, I've been self-employed.
So tell us about the first way you were self-employed when you first got out of prison.
The first business I had was a cleaning service in Madison, Wisconsin. I started cleaning dormitories at UW-Madison.
And when would you do that, and how much did that pay?
$40 an hour.
For cleaning dormitories?
Yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
About a year.
And then what did you do?
I had a transportation company, RCT Express, where I had a Sprinter van delivering loads cross country.
And who drove the van?
I did.
And how long did you do that for?
About 3 years.
And so that was up till about 2018 or so?
Yeah.
And then what did you do?
I had another job. I worked at I had Northwoods Property Management. I had a contract with them to clean cottages and cabins on the weekends for $50 an hour. And I worked at Merrill Iron and Steel in Wausau, and I made $26 an hour there during the week.
And how long did you keep those two jobs?
Until I moved back here in Milwaukee in 2019.
And when you moved back to Milwaukee, what were you doing?
I worked at the Hampton Inn Hotel downtown. I was the head maintenance man down there.
And when did you leave that job? Or did you leave that job?
When I started my own cleaning company back up again. Elite Cleaning Services is what I do now and outside of school.
So you're doing two things. You're going to school and you're running Elite Cleaning Services?
Yes.
So tell us what Elite Cleaning Services does.
Power washing, clean apartments for residential move in, move outs for CEOs that come in from out of town and they rent various apartments. And once they leave, I go in and I clean them up.
Now, do you clean it up yourself or do you have people working for you to clean it up?
I do everything myself.
And how much do you get paid for doing that?
$40 an hour.
So you've got this Elite Cleaning Services that pays $40 an hour and you're going to school.
Yes.
And how many days a week do you go to school?
3 days a week, full time.
So you're going to school full time?
Yeah.
And you're working full time?
Yeah.
So today all you're getting for testifying is the inconvenience of coming here and missing work and school.
Missing my class, yeah.
Are you telling the jury the truth?
Absolutely.
Were you telling the jury the truth back in 2008?
Yes, when I testified to what was on those phone calls, absolutely.
Now, you did go before a federal judge and you did get sentenced on those bank robbery charges, right?
Yes.
Now, you were expecting to get, before you provided any testimony in this case, you're expecting your attorney and you were expecting you're going to get about 5 years?
Yeah.
That's what you were expecting to get?
Yeah, according to the federal sentencing guidelines, I was facing 5 years, yeah.
Show this letter. I'm going to show you two letters, one marked S77 and one marked S78. And I'm going to provide them to you and then I'm going to ask you questions about them, okay?
Okay.
Have you read them both?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember ever seeing those letters before?
Yes, my attorney had them. I had a copy of them as well back then. I don't have it now.
Let me. Now, did your attorney show you these letters before you were sentenced by in the federal courts?
Yes.
And the federal judge was the Honorable Wayne Anderson in the
Yes.
Bloomberg Federal Courthouse?
Yes.
So this is the letter that I wrote to attorney, and who wrote the letters that you were reading? Who signed these letters?
Oh, you did?
And so the first letter is to Attorney Green. It reads, Dear Attorney Green, I've been informed that you are the attorney representing David Thompson. I prepared this letter and would appreciate it if you would provide it to the Judge Wayne Anderson prior to Mr. Thompson's sentencing. Thank you. Sincerely, Robert Jamboys. That was the letter that your attorney received?
Yes.
And then enclosed in that letter was this letter. Dear Judge Anderson, it is my understanding that David Thompson will soon be standing before you to be sentenced for his role in 2 bank robberies. I don't know anything about the circumstances surrounding those 2 incidents. However, I do think you should know that David Thompson recently testified in the case of State versus Mark Jensen. During the course of his incarceration in the Kenosha County Jail, Mr. Thompson became acquainted with Mark Jensen, who stood accused of the murder of his wife, Julie Jensen. Mr. Thompson testified in the Jensen case that Mark Jensen...
I do object to the full contents of this letter being read, aside from just this letter detailing that Mr. Jamboys found him cooperative.
Well, Your Honor, they were going into great detail on cross-examination.
I'm all allowed because we've had a lot of questions about supposedly what happened with the bank robbery charges, the sentence, and the consideration he was supposed to get. It's part of the consideration. So go ahead, Mr. Jamboys.
So I'll start at the beginning of the second paragraph. During the course of his incarceration in the Kenosha County Jail, Mr. Thompson became acquainted with Mark Jensen, who stood accused of the murder of his wife, Julie Jensen. Mr. Thompson testified in the Jensen case that Mark Jensen had solicited him to arrange to have a witness named Ed Klug, quote, sat on, unquote, or kidnapped in order to prevent Mr. Klug from testifying. The state had intercepted and recorded telephone conversations between Mark Jensen and various family members, which corroborated Mr. Thompson's testimony. I stress that Mr. Thompson had never actually intended to participate in a kidnapping scheme. Rather, it was intent to induce Mark Jensen to participate in such a scheme so that he could testify on behalf of the state in this matter. I believe that David Thompson testified truthfully in this matter. Furthermore, he was of substantial assistance to the state in the successful investigation and prosecution of this murder case.
Objection, Judge, in terms of what Mr. Jamboys is currently reading. If you could explain it sidebar, I'd be happy to.
We're going to stop here, Mr. Jamboys, from you reading for.
Well, I'll just go to the final sentence. I do hope that you will consider that as a mitigating factor when deciding upon an appropriate sentence for Mr. Thompson. Now, is that the letter that I wrote on your behalf to Judge Anderson?
Yes.
And you were happy to receive that letter?
Absolutely.
And that letter is consistent with representations I made to you, isn't it? And the October 10th, 2007 interview that occurred?
Yes.
And at that interview, do you remember who was present in the room when I interviewed you?
I think it was you, I, and Angie.
Angelina Gabrielle?
Yes.
And you remember Detective Miles being there?
Yes.
I request this be marked as, that this interview be marked as, I guess, Exhibit S79.
I object to it being received into evidence with the portions that subject to redaction.
We'll wait for that then. Just remind you, it's 79, right? Exhibit 79? All right, 79. We'll wait whether it's going to be received or not.
Would you like to know the impact that letter had on my sentencing?
You know, that's a good question. That's a good point. Yes. What sentence did you get from the federal judge?
It had no weight. Judge, and had you pulled the federal files, you would see that Judge Anderson said clearly that what happened in Wisconsin, he has no jurisdiction over.
So what sentence did you get?
They gave me 47 months.
Pretty consistent with the guidelines.
Pretty consistent with the guidelines, just a little bit under the guidelines.
Well, the guidelines would have been 60 months, right?
Right, yeah.
So maybe 13 months off. The judge didn't completely ignore me.
Yeah, I mean, I went to jail in 2000 and I was home in 2010.
Yeah.
I mean, 2008 and I was home in 2010.
Federal judges aren't the only judges that disregard me, just so you know. So, but the letter that I wrote, regardless of whether the judge paid any attention to it, the letter I wrote was consistent with the promise I made to you.
Yes, it was a good letter. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, Mr. Perry had asked you questions about this interview. And so in this interview, you and I mean, I did ask you questions about the conversation you had with Mark Jensen, didn't I?
Yes.
So let's be clear, because you were asked questions on cross about this. Who first raised this issue about getting rid of or sitting on Ed Klug?
Oh, he did. Mark Jensen did.
So what was the context in which he raised the issue about getting rid of Ed Klug?
Me, I just
No,
tried
listen,
to tell.
listen carefully.
Okay.
What was the context in which he raised the issue of getting rid of Ed Klug? What was the conversation? What were you talking about when he raised this issue about getting rid of Ed Klug?
He was worried that because we had been talking and I kept seeing a worried look on his face. I asked him what's the problem. He said, I'm worried about this guy's going to testify against me. And that's when we went into the conversation and came out with what he wanted to do.
He told you the guy is coming to court against me, but he's lying.
Yeah.
And what did you say in response to him telling you that he's coming to court, but he's lying?
I can't say exactly what I said, but it was something to the extent that I might be able to help you with that.
Well, do you recall telling him, I said, well, if he's lying, then why would you want him out of the picture? Then if he's lying,
Yeah.
the court might see that he's lying, and that would be that. Do you recall telling him anything like that?
Yeah, yeah.
And what did he say after you'd suggested, well, if he's lying, then why do you want to get him out of the picture?
He never changed his stance on it.
Who was the first person to raise the proposal or suggest getting rid of Ed Klug?
Mr. Jensen.
So you're not the one who initiated that. He is.
He is, yes.
After he was complaining about Ed Klug coming to court and lying against him.
Yes.
That was your statement then, and that's your statement now.
Absolutely.
So it's muted in the court right now, guys, just so you know. It's not you're not missing anything. I'm just making sure that you know what's going on and just kind of updating things on my end while they're chit-chatting over there. So but I'm recording something as well at the same time. So bear with the courts and bear with me.
Mark Jensen first raised this issue about getting rid of Ed Klug. Was it, I'm not clear on this, was it your intention at that point to try to get $500 out of him, or was it your intention to try to get him to commit to this proposition so you could use it with your lawyer?
Well, initially I wanted to get the money out of him, but once I found out that everything we talked about had been recorded and it was going to be used against me
later, Candace. Thank you.
My attorney told me that, look, you better just go in there and tell the truth.
Defense counsel on his cross-examination had asked you about this question, and I'm directing court counsel's attention to the transcript for the trial testimony. Was it January 8th? January 14th. Question, would it be fair to say you talked to your lawyer about it, right? Answer, yes, I did. Question, and then he said, just keep talking, Mr. Jensen, to Mark Jensen, right? Answer, my lawyer said that? I can't recall he said that. Okay, question, okay, do you recall page 4, counsel? When you were being interviewed on October 10th, you said, I mentioned it to my lawyer, Mr. Green, and he said, well, just keep talking to him. If something comes up, just let me know. Okay, that could be true. So then we go to that interview. So on page 4 of that interview, directing court's counsel to page 4, and going to the top, starting midway through the first line. So I told him, I said, man, look here, maybe I can help you, So he said, what? And I was like, I got to go to court, today. I'll talk to you when I get back. So I go to court and I mentioned to my lawyer, Mr. Green. And he said, well, just keep talking to him. And if something comes up, just let me know. So I kept talking to him. And finally he agreed he would pay to have the dude held, or if push came to shove, completely take out of the picture. And so I gave him a ballpark. I said, well, $1,000. Now, you remember that portion of the interview?
Yes.
And then later on, though, I said, well, anything is possible. So at that point, I'm like, man, I need to talk to Mr. Green again. But before that happened, you guys come to see me. And I told you the story when we was meeting over there. And the next thing I know, I got a mailing from my attorney saying to stay off the phone. Everything is being recorded and whatnot. So I said, okay, I'll stay my ass off the phone then. But I don't think you kind of really believed me when I told you the story at first. Do you remember then telling the rest of that?
Yes.
When you're talking to your lawyer, he said, go ahead and keep talking. Once you'd explain to him what the theory was here, that you were going to try to that you were talking to Mark Jensen about this kidnapping plan.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you were going to actually involve yourself in the kidnapping.
No, we just were talking about it, see how far he was trying to go with it.
But previously you'd sent some sort of a brief correspondence, and Mr. Green had written you a letter saying, stay off the phone because they're recording the phone calls.
Right.
And I know we've had issues with you guys finding me online. It's the meta has been messed up on Facebook and YouTube for whatever reason. There's just algorithm issues. So what I'm going to recommend you do is unfollow, then refollow. But when you do refollow, click on that notification button again
Now,
and set it up for
you weren't
all
present
posts,
when
videos,
Mark Jensen
and live
then
streams on
subsequently
Facebook and on
talked
YouTube.
to his family members about
It's a must
this.
do.
Objection outside of the scope of his knowledge just by the nature of his question.
Sustained.
Well, were you present at any time when Mark Jensen talked to any member of his family about this case?
No.
Except you were present when you talked to Kim, correct?
Yes.
And you just heard those phone conversations this morning. So Mark Jensen had gotten on the phone and talked to Kim.
Yes.
And when you were talking to Kim and you got the spelling wrong on Stifle Nicholas, Mark Jensen could be heard in the background.
Yes. He corrected the spelling for me.
And also when you were giving this address to Kim, the address for Ed Klug, that's the address that Mark Jensen had given you.
Yes.
But you didn't hear any other subsequent phone conversations between Mark Jensen and his family members.
No.
Nothing further.
Want to recross, Mr. Perry?
A few questions.
Go ahead.
If I understand your testimony, for you, the motivation was money first.
Yeah, it was all about the money from the whole time. The whole time I was having a conversation with him.
Then after you were being confronted with phone calls, did you decide, well, I better make something of this for your case?
No, when I got confronted with the phone calls, I mean, I couldn't deny what was on what had been recorded. So I just, came forth and told the truth.
And those phone calls that we heard were September 11th and September 12th, 2007, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
So on September 8th, which is 3 days before the first of those phone calls, that's when you wrote that it was time to help yourself, isn't it?
I can't recall what day it was, but I know that I wrote that letter, yes.
And it was your testimony earlier today that it was September 8th.
Okay.
In terms of whose plan it was that you just testified to, I'm going to direct attention to page 109 of January 14th, 2008. At the bottom, question, well, your plan that you were talking about was that you were going to keep Mr. Klug in his house until the trial is over. Answer, yeah. Now I go to page 110. Question, that was the plan. Answer, yes. Question, so you were just going to have somebody wait for Mr. Klug by the garage and then take him in the house and wait for the trial to be over? Answer, that's what I told Mark, but no, I wasn't going to have that done. No, I had no way of having that done. Question, and Mark Jensen, you're telling me Mark Jensen thought that was a workable plan? Answer, evidently, he went along with it. He provided me with the information I needed. Remember that testimony?
Yes.
You just explained that you pled in 2008?
To my federal charges?
Yes.
Yes.
Out in 2010?
Yes. I did 85% of my time.
And Mr. Jamboys' letter got over a year knocked off of 47 months.
No, it didn't. It didn't get anything knocked off. The judge wouldn't even take it into consideration.
He said instead of 47 months, you had 13 months off of that.
Right. And the fact that I didn't use a gun in the commission of my crimes, he gave me the lower scale of the sentencing guidelines. Because I jumped over the counter and took the money. I never threatened anyone or used a gun or anything.
And
that's why he gave me the low end of sentencing.
And the gun thing in Washington County, that went
that
away.
gun was already at home. So that was Kim's gun. So they gave it to her and they just completely disappeared. I took charge for the half a pound of marijuana because it was mine.
And you didn't get any additional time in Washington County, did you?
I wasn't facing any additional time in Washington County other than those 2 charges.
It was run concurrent,
Concurrent to what?
the federal sentence.
Oh yeah, it ran concurrent. Yeah, but they gave me they sentenced me. Yeah, and well, Washington County's one made the time run concurrent.
That's right.
Yeah.
This was pretty, when you wrote, it was time to help yourself, you did that pretty effectively, didn't you?
Well, actually, Mark did.
No further questions.
All right, you're excused. Thank you.
So now, Your Honor, the state intends to be playing some subsequent phone calls between Mark Jensen and various members of his family, and the defense has stipulated the foundation for these, so we don't need to produce Detective Zielsdorf.
All right, we're going to need a break. I need a break, folks.
Okay.
Go
I
back,
guess now we're
relax
gonna take
for
a
a
break.
bit. Don't talk about the case.
He said, "Go back and relax for a little bit." I see this judge is super chill, man. He is about as laid back as you could possibly get. Really the yeah. There we go. Now you can probably hear me. So, Mark Jensen, man, this has been long running. So,
79, I want to deal with it while we are all fresh. Who has that exhibit?
It should be over there, Your Honor.
The attorneys have a copy of the letter. Can I see it?
I don't have a handy copy. I don't have one.
You said 79. I got 77 and 78. So
Well, the letter, if you're talking about the letter, I think that was, 79 was the interview.
what exhibit did you object? Yeah, you said
Yeah, they just took a
79
break.
on the record.
he's like, we'll take another break.
I just objected to the letter.
The letter is
Thank you for sending that
78.
clip to me. I appreciate it.
All right.
So you lied to the FBI? Yeah.
There were a couple of, one was an objection to the admission of 79, which is the transcript of the interview, the recorded interview between David Thompson and
I
myself.
think that's the wrong exhibit.
Then I misspoke then. My objection is 78. It hasn't been admitted into evidence, so
78 is
We're all
what
fine,
you're
right?
objecting to.
yes.
Right. So 79's coming in.
Okay.
77's coming in. We're just dealing with 78 now.
My objection on 78 and my objection to Mr. Jamboy's reading this to the jury talks about the successful prosecution of Mark Jensen,
That's all stricken.
which shouldn't have come in.
I'll tell them it's off. They're not to
Well,
consider it.
Certainly that one, Your Honor, as I was reading, I was realizing, I shouldn't have mentioned that one sentence. I should have jumped to the end.
There's 2 sentences that are going to be stricken.
Which 2 sentences are they?
I believe David Thompson testified truthfully in this matter. Furthermore, he was substantial assistance to the state in a successful investigation and prosecution of his murder case. Those 2 sentences are out. I'll tell the jury they're stricken or not to consider it.
I'd ask actually that instead of telling them that those 2 lines in particular were stricken, because that just draws more attention to it, is that it be reread with those excised and that they're to consider only that information and not any other information they may have heard about the letter.
And who is going to read the letter?
I'd ask Mr. Jamboys to read it correctly this time.
Well, I read it correctly last time, but I'd be happy to leave out those 2 sentences, and I'll read it correctly this time with those 2 sentences excised.
All right, that's what we'll tell them, that 78 is going to come in and the letter's going to be reread to the jury. That's all. You don't want me to say which sentences are stricken, right?
Right.
Okay, I'll give you back 78
Thank
then,
you,
Mr. Jambois. Here's 77, it's coming in.
I mean, with the,
Work something out.
I am asking for the instruction that any other information about the letter not be considered.
What was the instruction you wanted?
That any other information they received about the contents of the letter not be considered except for what Mr. Jamboys is going to be reading. into
Any
the
other
record.
information should not be considered except for what is being read to the jury by Mr. Jambois, right?
That's right.
All right.
Okay, there you go. See, that's the judge you guys hear breathing. Someone is saying, CJ, we can hear you breathing, man. You mouth breathing. No, it's not me. It's the judge. So they're taking a little stretch break here, which will be good. Needed, I think. Everybody there needs to get up and walk around a little bit. Which one is the killer? Pam, I'll give you a quick scan through the courtroom. And I think you could, let's play a little game called Find the Killer. I'm pretty sure, Pam, you'll be able to figure it out pretty quick. Which one looks like he would eat your face on a Tinder date? Just saying. And, you know, you'll see. Just take a look. When they're going to go to break here right now, so they're not going to be available for. And once they come back in, you'll see everybody come back into the courtroom, or rather, you'll see everybody milling around the courtroom. And then you just take a gander, take a look, and you'll see some folks. I'm just asking a question to the court real fast. The courtroom, between breaks or only during. There we go. Yeah, so while they're on break here, if you're curious about who that is, okay, so let's do this for you guys real quick. Yeah, this will give us a little bit of background here, so you know who is what. If you haven't yet, I put together, and I will copy the link here. I'm going to put it here, and this is where you can find a really comprehensive breakdown of the case. Just be quiet. Okay, cool. Of all the things that happened up in the 2010 trial, the original trial of Mark Jensen here. So I don't know if these work they should work as hyperlinks on your end. If not, I'll post it on my Facebook page as well. That way you can click on it there, and it'll take you to what's called the Facebook transfer page, or a Facebook transfer, and then you'll be able to either preview it or download it. Either way, it's from me. It's CJ Halliburton, and it'll be the Mark Jensen 2010 murder trial. In that, now I'm going to pull that up for you here. Actually, let's go back. We'll do this one more time so you guys can. We'll have you take a look at what I'm looking at, so you know what's happening. There's a lot of people that are asking, so let's do this real fast. But again, remember, share the stream or head to the train station with Rip here. He doesn't play around, guys. Share the stream. You know how Rip gets down. You know what he will do. And if you don't, tune into Yellowstone, guys. It's a great show. Really good show. Do yourself a favor. Hold for a second here. My little mustache tape job is falling off right there. That's a tribute to my man in the chair right now, who will be known as T or W or whatever we want to go by. So the here we go. We're just going to go ahead and share screen here so you can see what I've got going. And okay, so what you're seeing here is not that. We're going to add this, and we'll go here. Here we go. So if you go in, click on the link that I'm going to put in here. This will take you into a breakdown here. So what you're seeing over here on the far right, this will be a video walkthrough of the original crime scene, which was where they found Julie Jensen's body. They did a walk through the house. They found medications. They did the whole nine, right? This is Julie Jensen's letter. To the left here, the letter from the grave that was sent in, was given to her neighbor, that was used as kind of the damning evidence in the original trial, which then ended up being used or being thrown out. And that's how this retrial is taking place. So it's this whole, back and forth with this letter, if you would. This one here is just a 45-minute documentary that you should really check out, that was done on the original trial. And then this one down here is the all of the court proceedings that so you've got all of the original filings for the trial. So you can go through all of those and get a good look at all of the things that were filed in the courts for anything, for the original trial, for the coroner report, for the whole nine. So that's in there. And then this is the last one I was going to talk to you about. So you're going to click on this one and it's going to take you to this transfer file, right? And then you can either preview or download. We'll just go and preview it for now. And if you scroll through this, it'll take you through everything from the beginning of the case, everything that led up to the 2010 trial. And running through that, if you go through all of it, there's going to be video clips here as well, YouTube clips that'll take you into testimony, previous statements that were given, newscasts, CNN. There's going to be a couple different things that you're going to be able to see in there. Now, along with that, there's going to be the original toxicology report and the testimony of that individual there, the forfeiture hearing, which was what brought about the ability to retry, right? So this is where they say Judge Schroeder released his forfeiture ruling. He declares Julie's statements and letter will be allowed into trial. He rules that Mark is probably guilty of murdering Julie. Therefore, he forfeits his constitutional right to face her accusation. Now, they were trying to say that they couldn't use her. The reason that the letter is not being admissible is because they've turned over the ruling that Julie's letter is hearsay because she's not there to corroborate that letter. And so they've reworked that, and they've said that in one of the original trials was the reason that she wasn't able to be there was because he killed her. So he removed her from that ability. Moving past that, now they've flipped that around again. And now they're saying, no, that letter is not admissible. It is hearsay. So if you move through that, you'll see some forfeiture hearing testimonies and videos. And if we, including Ted Voigt, the next door neighbor, and if you didn't see any of his testimony, it's pretty damning as well. So without the letter, it all is pretty much, all roads point towards guilty. Now, the witness testimonies here is where it gets interesting. And these are some of the people we're talking to right now and some of the people we've talked about. So extensive amount of penis talk when it came down to Craig Albee. And we were talking to the defense. Craig Albee attempts to poke holes in Mitchell's testimony. Anyway, you can read through that was the original penis chit chat. The forensic toxicology report comes in, but to get us to where we're at right now, we're talking about Aaron Dillard. So this was the jailhouse snitch who started us off today and finished us off on Friday. And basically, okay, here we go. Aaron Dillard got his information from papers he read while in jail with Mark. So this is what they were trying to say, is that his testimony wasn't valid because he had read about the case. He had no personal knowledge of the case. If we move past that, we're talking specific. This is all in here. You guys can click on this and go through it at your leisure, so you don't have to listen to me speed read or anything. You have the phone recordings with Aaron Dillard, or not Aaron Dillard, but with Mr. Thompson, who's on the stand right now, talking about with Mark talking about hiring him to basically off Ed Klug. Man, there's just so much stuff in here that I put together for you guys. You're going to have to go through this on your own. So, doctor, psychiatrist, forensic pathologist, the medical examiner, Julie's brother. Anyway, it's all in here. So get in there, take a look, and it's got the original testimony that was given by the man. Sorry, I am just choking up over here. Not choking up, but choking. So all of this will be available if you go to my Facebook page, CJTV Media, and you can click on that. It'll take you into this link here, and you can go through all these on your own and take a look at it. If you're curious and you want to know some more, it's definitely a good place to get the resources that you need, at least. And if you want to go deeper, do it. You know what I mean? So let's take a look at where court's at right now. Looks like they're not back in session just yet, so we're doing okay. But we will know post haste as soon as they do. man, and this one has already been one of my faves. So I'm gonna throw this up for you guys again here. This is what the whole case has basically been down to.
For some reason, I don't know why, just kind of sit around all day and draw pictures of dicks.
What?
Draw pictures of dicks.
Dicks? Like a man dick?
Yeah, like a man dick.
Yeah, like a man dick. Keeping it very real. Keeping it very, very real there. So again, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to this file just so you guys have it in the, let me minimize this here. I believe either way. Yeah. View only link. There we go. Well, it'll be up there for you, so you're not gonna miss it. But it's just taking me a second to copy. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works for us here. So we're gonna go into the comments over here and post this up. And if that works as a link, sweet. If not, I will make sure to put this over on our Facebook page so you have access to that directly. And you can kind of go in there and peruse the information as you see fit. So, and I'll be putting that on right now. And again, I don't know if it's going to make. I'll figure it out for you guys. Either way, it's all there. It's all available to you. So, law and crime. You know, it's murder porn, man. This is crazy. It's crazy how much this is how big of a thing this is. You know, but it's the real deal. So, oh, here we go. That's what I was looking for right there. Okay, cool. So we're going to go here. We're going to delete that and get rid of that. And then we're going to go do this. We're almost there for you guys. Okay. I don't know what it says. Sign in. I don't know what the deal is. So click on that and see what it does for you guys. If there's any issues with it, link me back. And it should be, well, let me know. Let me know what you come up with. Again, where do we find the last link? I'm putting that all up for you right now, guys. Might even just, it worked, Pam? All right, good deal. And you're able to click on all the links, hopefully, right, Pam? Just let me know if that's still happening for us appropriately. You're very welcome, Sue. Okay, good. So, and then, of course, the this is the longer one is the one that I said is the original 2010 trial. That's the one that has all of that breakdown for you. So take a gander. Let me know what you think. And yeah, share it out if you would, please. Yeah, Candace, I don't know what the deal is with the plexiglass anymore. You know, it's kind of out of control, I think, personally. But let me see what we got going here. Like I said, we're still on break. We're still waiting. We are still waiting here. So man, did you guys see what was going on in Atlanta this weekend? Wild, really crazy stuff. They had the forest defenders in Antifa were marching around Antifa, burning cop cars. And I mean, what place on your pages do we find this info on the links? Sorry. Sue, I don't know what you're doing. If you just click on CJTV Media, I just posted it. It should be. If you're not seeing it, I don't know what to tell you. If that's the question you're asking, you can always go to my page, text me directly, call me, email me, whatever. If you have any more questions that I can answer, if I can't gather from the comments here. But if you just go to CJTV Media, well, here, let's do this for you guys. Might be important to do this here. So, and for anyone watching, you want to do this. So, where are we at here? Okay. And let's share that. Okay. So this is the CJTV Media page, right? So if you go to the said page, and you scroll down, right, you're going to see a link of featured videos here, the list of contact info over here on the left, and then this link right here. You click on this google.com, and that'll take you to where you follow the link. It'll take you outside of Facebook, and then boom, there you go. You're going to be inside of this area right here. This is that inclusive breakdown on the far left, videos on the far right, documentary in the middle here, court documents all right here, and then the letter from Julie right here. So that's what you're looking for, and that's how you'll find it. So pretty simple point and click, and you're good to go. But we're going to jump back into the trial here because that's what we're here to watch. And let's do that. So, and here it is, and there we go. Again, let's play find the killer. Play find the killer. Just saying.
Okay, we're back on the record. Mark D. Jensen, 2002 CF 314. The appearances are the same. The jury's back in the courtroom. We just have to tie up something from the testimony that we finished before the break. It's the letter Mr. Jambois wrote to the authorities in Illinois. I will tell you any information, you should not consider any information except for what's in the letter now that Mr. Jambois is going to read back to you. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Jambois.
Thank you, Your Honor. The letter is dated March 11, 2008. The Honorable Wayne Anderson, Bloomberg Federal Courthouse. Ray David Thompson. Dear Judge Anderson, it is my understanding that David Thompson will soon be standing before you to be sentenced for his role in 2 bank robberies. I don't know anything about the circumstances surrounding these 2 incidents. However, I do think you should know that David Thompson recently testified in the case of State versus Mark Jensen. During the course of his incarceration in the Kenosha County Jail, Mr. Thompson became acquainted with Mark Jensen, who stood accused of the murder of his wife, Julie Jensen. Mr. Thompson testified in the Jensen case that Mark Jensen had solicited him to arrange to have a witness named Ed Klug, quote, sat on, unquote, or kidnapped in order to prevent Mr. Klug from testifying. The state had intercepted and recorded telephone conversations between Mark Jensen and various family members, which corroborated Mr. Thompson's testimony. I stress that Mr. Thompson had never actually intended to participate in a kidnapping scheme. Rather, it was his intent to induce Mark Jensen to participate in such a scheme so that he could testify on behalf of the state in this matter. I do hope that you will consider that as a mitigating factor when deciding upon an appropriate sentence for Mr. Thompson, and then signed, sincerely, Robert Jambois.
All right, Exhibit then 78 will be received. All right, what do we do next now for the state?
So, Judge, this is Exhibit 75, and we are going to be playing excerpts from jail phone calls. This initial one is from July 31st of 2007 between Mark Jensen and his parents, and it begins at 04:35.
All right, play the phone call.
But anyhow, we're going full speed ahead, but I would be somewhat shocked as how this thing is developing here, because it's different from what we were talking. We got this witness here who says you did it.
Right. Let's talk about it. Yeah. But, again, where does the seat come up,
Well, you
That's the problem.
Pretty strong reaction, though, I would think, on the part of anybody who listens to it. You know, to think that you did do it.
Right.
We're going to have to do something about that guy. And
I didn't say that to him.
huh?
I didn't say that to him. There were 3 people there.
What's his motive for saying it you did?
He talked to Mom about it.
Okay.
Calls are monitored, Dan. Calls are monitored.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Now stopping that at 0529. And now we'll be moving to a call from 91107 at 1540. And this will commence at the time of 11 minutes and 15 seconds.
Well, I got an offer of help today in a different way, which was interesting.
What?
I got an offer of help today in a different way, which was interesting.
Yeah, how's that?
I'll tell you guys about that later.
Okay.
And, let's see. Other than that, talked to Kel last night. Asked her, probably.
All right, and stopping that at 1136. Now I call 91107 at 2040 between Mark Jensen and Kelly. And this call will commence at 8 minutes and 25 seconds into the call.
Oh. One of the guys today was offering to go grab somebody and sit on him.
Okay.
Oh. Just the way the kids used to be able to do it,
Yeah.
Like they would go find Doug, grab him, pick him up, carry him somewhere, sit on him.
Yep.
So. Oh, God. But that would be we got time to figure it out and have some fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big question is
Yep.
Where do we want to go and what do we want it to be? And where to from here? Draw a line, put all this behind us and move on. But I want our life back,
Yep.
all of it, every part of it,
So stopping that part at 9 minutes and 13 seconds and then moving to in the same call. So this is starting up again at 11 minutes and 50 seconds into the call.
Let's see, money-wise, how is everything?
Fine, I guess. I just have to remember to pay the bills.
Bills?
Oh, shit. Forgot to pay one of my credit cards.
Oh, really?
Got stocked with a late fee and the interest charge. I was like, son of a bitch.
Okay.
Because it just happened, just at the right time where it was just the last thing on my mind. And I don't get paper statements anymore from anything.
Gotcha.
So I have to remember to go out there. And I went out there the day the next statement was cutting off.
Right.
Made the payment. Well, that didn't cut it.
Gotcha.
but it, you know, it's taken care of. But no,
Okay.
other than that, we're fine. That's why I have so many things set up on auto pay, because I just don't need the hassle.
Okay. Let's see. There was something. Okay. Well, that's good. So something I think I want to have my folks take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And might have you give them some money, just a little bit, and I'll explain that to you.
Okay.
Okay. Not right now.
Okay.
Okay. We'll see if we'll figure it out. Okay. Other than that, I don't know anything more about that at this point. So.
Have to do with something in there?
What's that?
Does it have to do with something in there?
Oh, no. No. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Okay. And that's all.
How much?
Oh. It'd be like 500.
Okay.
Maybe twice, and that would be it. And I'm not sure if I want to do that or not, but, you know.
Okay.
And I know I'm not giving you any answer at all.
No, well, but I understand. You know.
Okay. I'm just, it'd probably be better to have that part of the conversation now and the other part of it later or something like that.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. But
all right.
Definitely want to, I don't know. We'll see.
You have 1 minute left.
You're going to get cut off again.
All right.
Okay. Well, don't worry about that. It's just the, because I want to give you a heads up or something like that with that. Okay. Love you. Everything else good?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Everything's fine. Let's see, what else is going on here?
All right, stopping that at 15:42, or sorry, 14:57. That was the time on that. And so now moving to a recording from 9/11/07 at 21:05. Once again, this is Mark Jensen, call to Kelly. And this will start at 37 seconds in.
Hey.
Hey there.
It's almost 9. What are you doing?
Oh, I know. I just want to get back to you on that. I got $20 left. So, I spent a lot on pads and pens and stuff like that last week.
Okay.
Okay. And I got a bunch of stuff ripped off.
I can't afford $100 a week, pal. So you need to budget a little better.
I understand.
Okay.
Okay. I'm working on it.
All right.
It's just, to get a bar of soap and a couple soap, shampoo, stuff like that. Generally, usually it's about $50. I spent more than that, though, this last time. It was like 80 of that 100. And then I grabbed some stuff for that medical stuff, too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So.
All right.
Sorry. Understand. But, yeah, stuff's not real cheap. Is it?
No, it's fine. It's just, we put what?
I know. I realize that. It gets over the
$800 in phone calls.
Right. The cost of being here is amazing, and it sucks.
It's $100 every 2 weeks, and now we're going to $100 every week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I understand.
And now you want another $1,000 for something I don't know anything about, but your parents do, and we're all talking on the same phone, so I'm not really sure about that one, but
Right.
okay.
Right.
And they're certainly never going to tell me the truth, so.
Right. Well, I don't even know about that one, sweetie. I just don't want you to, I just don't want to get you
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
That's fine.
That's okay. I'm not even sure that's, want to do that or anything, or I'm going to do it or something like that. Yeah.
All right.
I just,
You're
that's
just
all.
trying to keep people in line, or what?
What's that?
You're just trying to keep people in line?
Here?
Yeah?
No.
Okay.
No, not for that. So, okay.
Okay.
That's not it. So, yeah, other than that.
You're trying to keep your girlfriend happy?
Yeah. No. No.
I'll give her a truck.
Yeah, thanks. No, nothing like that.
It's almost 30 grand. I was wrong about it being as upside down as I thought it was.
Really?
Yeah, because I put on there that it was a Hemi and not a diesel. And a Hemi's only worth 19. The diesel, we're within a couple grand of what it's worth.
Okay.
But, I mean, we're still losing money on it, so.
Yeah, diesel's worth a lot more.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I meant to tell you that a long time ago, but obviously your truck is not at the top of my priority list.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I hate having you, telling you to do something like that, or, no explanation. I just, not sure to do it without talking about it, that's all.
I know.
So.
But if your parents know about it, you talked about it to somebody.
No, I haven't, so.
Okay.
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet.
Okay.
So, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Love you. And, ultimately I'm probably not going to, so.
All right.
I just wanted to check with you to see if, that's it. I probably will never talk to you about it again, and if I wanted to do something, I'll just have them ask you for it,
All right.
Okay. Love you.
All right, so stopping that at 3 minutes and 57 seconds. And the next recording is 9/12/07 at 18:01. Call with Mark Jensen and his parents. So this starts at 2 minutes and 9 seconds into the call.
Okay. Hey, question for you. Do you still have Kim's number?
Kim.
Yeah, remember that Dave who you helped that night? His wife's name was Kim? You talked to her on the phone?
Say that again? Who, Kim?
Kim, yeah. Oh, you got me back on the speakerphone?
Yeah, you're back on the speaker.
Who's Kim?
You there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not connecting. What? Who did we talk to?
I hardly hear.
Okay. You there?
Hello?
So that section ended at 2 minutes and 53 seconds, and the next part will commence at 4 minutes and 43 seconds.
Hey, you do me a favor, sir. You have the phone with the mom.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey there. Yeah, let me give you this phone number here.
Oh, okay, let me get a pen.
Okay. Just hang on to it.
Got more stuff around and no pen.
Gotcha.
Okay.
262?
Okay.
247? 2437.
2437.
Yeah.
262-247-2437.
Right.
Okay, what is that number?
That was you, the lady you talked to the other night.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You get a chance, just give her a call and touch bases.
Okay.
And she'll, that's all.
All right.
What's it like out there?
So stopping that section at 5 minutes and 42 seconds. And then resuming in the same call at 11 minutes and 31 seconds in.
Sounds good.
And I'm willing to do anything at all.
Okay.
Period.
Sounds good.
Okay?
Sounds good. Well, Kim, let's see. Dave offered to help. You know, you got Kim's number. Give her a shot when you get a chance. Touch bases with her. Maybe she can explain to you. And if you got any questions, you know, I'll give you a call back later. And
Okay.
if you got any questions on it, okay?
Okay.
And other than that, it's supposed to what? Get hot again tomorrow? It's supposed to get hot and then cold again.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, it'd be nice to have some fresh air. And then we get any fresh air. It was like 80 degrees in here all day long. Everyone was just sweating.
Oh, I know. I can imagine. That's awful.
They do everything they can to make you. And yeah, hook up with Dale on the tax file tomorrow. That'll help. And that's all I can think of right now.
Okay. I'll take care of everything as I'm supposed to.
Okay.
And
All right, and stopping that at 12 minutes and 23 seconds. And the next call is September 12th, 2007 at 18:53. Also Mark Jensen to his parents. And this commences at 45 seconds into the call.
Yeah. Oh, good God. The blood's coming down. Oh.
well, I called Kim.
Okay.
She said she was going to call her, talk to her husband tonight.
Okay. Sounds good. And, oh, was she able to explain any of that to you?
Nope, she didn't say a word.
Okay. Sounds good. And last night the best bet is talk to, I don't know. Otherwise I can, well, that's fine. Yeah, have her talk to Dave. That works.
Okay,
Okay, as long as you guys are in touch. And
I'll keep her number.
that sounds good. And yeah, let's go. So that worked just fine.
Okay, other than that, I don't know a thing except from the last time we talked, except that I do want you to know that I will do whatever research, whatever I need to do.
Okay.
Period.
Sounds good. Yeah, I don't know if they're.
So stopping that at 1:52, and then in the same call, we'll be resuming again at 6 minutes and 18 seconds.
Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, even books of your own. Hell, you guys might get $1 million book deal out of this thing. You know.
Yeah, probably could.
Exactly. So, I mean, talking about being.
Yeah, I'll go for it. I will go for it.
That's what I mean. We got to do whatever we possibly can to make sure we're on the winning side of this whole thing, and probably knows it them. So, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
No, and Kim, she's just, sweetheart. So yeah, she'll talk to Dave and figure it out. But go from there. But talk to her. Other than that, I can talk to you guys Sunday when I see you about that.
Okay.
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 And what's the day? I'll talk to you beforehand. If you got any questions, just I gotta remember to be quite careful on the phone about what gets said.
Okay.
That's all.
I try to be, but sometimes I just want to be.
I know.
I say what I want to say.
Yeah, I try to pass it on. So I think, well, yeah, at some point you just got to hook up with Kim.
Yeah.
And that'll be fine. And
Okay.
then, other than that,
She will call tonight.
oh, she's going to call tonight?
Yeah, after she talks to her husband.
Okay. I'm not even sure if he's, okay, no, that's fine. Never talk to him, and we'll see.
Okay.
It's just a question of, getting everyone on the same page and explanations, and, I'm not sure,
Okay.
Maybe probably the best way is, when I see you guys or something.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, just time to figure that one out. But, yeah, just wanted you guys to be able to talk, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
I did.
Sounds good, and, yeah, we'll go from there, so.
All right.
We'll talk to you tomorrow, but that, that could be fun.
Yeah.
Fun and interesting. This is something that Baca would like.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Then he will talk to her.
Oh, it doesn't have to. I mean, it could be, you guys talk and,
This
everything's
is
fine.
a Baco kind of thought process?
No, it could be. Yeah.
Ah.
Could be kind of fun, so I don't know. What you gonna do? Sometimes it's like, two little kids when they're, well, it's like David used to do, Doug. When Doug was misbehaving, David would just go grab him, pick him up, and go sit on him for a bit.
That didn't sit well with Doug.
What's that?
Doug, that did not sit well with Doug.
No.
Doug does what Doug wants to do.
Yeah, he doesn't like getting fed.
Doug knows what he needs to do, and he is going there, and he is not going to be deterred.
Right. Exactly.
He's just the coolest boy.
Yeah. Well, he's good. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yep. What you gonna do?
Deal with it, because sometimes that thought process is really cool.
Right, exactly. Yeah, sometimes, you gotta get, yeah. Sometimes a 12-year-old has the best answers, yeah. What you gonna do? Yeah, Doug, and he's riding his bike all over the place. Church, you name it, everywhere. Newfound freedom until the clocks start changing time. So, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure, what Kim.
In the oven?
As long as you guys are talking, that's cool. I'm not sure what she'll be able to explain to you or something like that. But, if not,
Okay.
I can fill in those blanks for you. Later.
All right.
See you. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Waiting to get the disc.
All right, so pausing that at 10:09. Then this next call will be September 13th, 2007 at 10:21. Another call with Mark Jensen and his parents. So this starts at 11 minutes and 42 seconds.
What's up, guys? No, I'm heading to the courthouse right now
Yeah,
to sit in for a few.
I
So
didn't
yeah,
talk to your mother. I mean, you asked me to call Kim last night, which I did.
Okay.
And she didn't call back.
Okay.
But there's
not
somebody
heading to
else
Cali
named
just
Wayne
yet.
Palmer.
This evening.
I'll talk to Wayne Palmer.
Okay.
Which is he's got like 30 apartment buildings in town.
Okay.
He goes out right. And he has for a long time and whatnot. So he's with Schaefer Electric.
Okay.
In the construction business. So he called to find out how I was doing weeks ago, and Kel talked to him, and we were, he said he wanted to come and see me, or, but he's a big supporter. And so Kel called him and said, hey, what can we do? Could you help? And he said, well, sure, I'll do everything I can to help, just let me talk to Mark. And so I'm going to call him tonight.
Okay.
So, like getting things going with the,
I've got some work in Cali that I do
okay.
on some of the sets and TV shows. So I'll be heading down there to do some work on Let's Make a Deal.
Other than that, well, that'll be fine. Yeah, just hang on to her number.
What?
Just hang on to that number.
Okay,
And
I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll put it over by here by this phone, so I've got it.
Sounds good. I just have to have you hook up with Kel on before, this is the Port Washington projects and stuff like that. Part of that. So, at some point, just got to have you hook up with her and take care of that headache for me. So.
Okay. All right.
And other than that, that's all I know with that one.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so pausing that at 13:28, and now moving on to the last call. This is from 9/14/07 at 18:24, a call between Mark Jensen and his parents.
I'm assuming the latency the is on their end for the video right now. I can't see both at the same time because I'm driving. So when I get to the courthouse, yeah, I don't think they're playing the audio yet.
Okay, this
So
begins at
there we go.
14 minutes and 21 seconds.
Mom, can you still got that Kim's number?
Yeah.
Okay, give her a call and have her put money in the phone.
Give her a call and have me, and
Put money in the phone.
you want to have 1 minute left.
She'll know.
Yeah, give me the instruction again.
Just give her a call and say I have her put money on the phone.
Oh, have her put money on the phone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll know what that is.
Okay.
And other than that, yeah, I don't know. Talk to Kel. She's got that stuff for you. I'll talk to her, but we gotta see if we can get this part done, okay?
Okay.
And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Okay, love you.
See you on Sunday.
Okay, that's right. Yep, see you Sunday.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All right, stopping that at 15:12. And so that's it for this exhibit, which is State's Exhibit 75, and the state will move that into evidence.
75 is received.
It's amazing how many people forget that every jailhouse
Judge,
call is recorded.
I'm going
and
to
observed.
be now entering Exhibit 72 and playing 2 calls from it. The same. First one is dated September 8th, 11:56 in the morning, and it's between Mark Jensen and his dad.
2007?
September 8th, 2007. Could you turn my computer on? Thank you. And this is starting at, I think I already said 11:56.
Yeah, I mean, that's not gonna, whatever individual realtors have going on, for RE/MAX, 75% more.
Well, the actual sales are off maybe 20%.
Okay.
But I think you had a lot of people who wanted to close prior to school starting, and
that could be. That's true. That's
and
true.
so the week after the week of when school started, there was a slowdown in closing.
Yeah.
But it should be the next week in the paper will be better, I would think.
Okay. Hey, question here. Let me give you a phone number.
Yeah, no worries, John. It's
Okay.
247.
Yeah.
2437.
You want to buy a lot?
No, this guy, you can just make a phone call when you get a chance. It's a local. But there's a guy in here who got picked up after the 23rd when he was on vacation about a month ago. And he just got back to the jail here and can't even get a hold of his family, but apparently, his family has never had a chance to talk to him in weeks. So.
Why not?
They won't want to make a phone call. He's a Fed guy for some reason. But, yeah, he's stuck in here. he got a hold of his sister a week ago, I guess. But, you know, if you get the chance.
Well, what am I supposed to do with his number?
Oh, just, nothing actually. Okay?
He's like, you're not picking up the
I'm
code.
supposed to call it?
Yeah.
See, he's not saying it because he knows they're listening. So he's trying to say it without saying it. But it's like
247-2437?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you want to do somebody a good turn, I guess just give them a call and say put some money on the phone so that you can actually call. So
Put some money on the phone.
yeah, I guess they have to have money on his phone so that he can call and get a hold of his wife, kids. They're on vacation. They literally, they use this place to bounce Fed guys through, federal prisoners.
Yeah.
So they grabbed this guy on vacation.
Yeah.
He was coming out of a casino up by, I guess by Watersmead. Up there. They were up there on vacation. But, same like the Wilderness Lawyer thought. But, yeah, they grabbed him and he's been,
I'm sure he was innocent.
county jail all the way down to the Lakeshore.
Snatched some random guy, yeah.
Because he's headed towards Chicago. So, but this is
Why, you got a casino there too?
No, this was the game the Feds play. You got state prisoners and then...
How much trouble am I going to get in by calling this number?
None. Actually, I probably wouldn't give him
I'll give him this. Pops is down.
Me on the phone saying,
He's like, well, am I going to get in trouble or what's up? Because he knows that
his
they're
family
like,
knows where he is, and they're going to know from calling the police department what to do.
Right, exactly.
I don't see me getting involved in this thing and doing anything that they can't do for themselves.
You're right. You're right. No, see, but what happens is you get hit up here all the time.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, so that's all. I'll just...
Say you pass it on, but don't say who to whom.
That's exactly what I did.
Okay.
So
his dad is knowing what's going on because he had someone probably right there in his ear, like standing there being like, yo, tell your people to tell my people, put money on my books, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, he said that, and he's like, I got you. And the guy walked away, and he's like, you do whatever you want. You don't have to tell him. It's fine.
Your number shows up in the caller ID and everything else.
Yeah, now you got a lot of explaining to do.
Right. Oh, no shit.
I think you got enough trouble without looking for more.
Right. Well, that's all I'm trying to do is not buy it, so you know where I'm coming from.
His wife wants to call him. She knows where he is.
Right. Exactly. Oh, Kel, one of the guys in here saw me dial the whole number and started calling her.
Why?
She was getting phone calls and stuff from the jail.
Why?
Beats me. Because people they don't have anybody to call. There's a lot of people just roll through here. So they call her and ask her to do something or some bullshit. She was actually getting mail from these guys. It's like, so you learn real quickly. You got to hide your phone numbers and your addresses and stuff like that. Because people
isn't that something?
Take advantage of it. Yeah, it's bizarre. So, you live and learn, right? So it's fine. And what else?
Or you kill somebody and then you learn,
Nothing else. Next Friday is the hearing date.
Next Friday?
Yeah. Oh.
That stopped at 12:27. This next call is same day, September 8th, 2007, at 2:03 p.m., Mark Jensen to his parents.
Hello, this is a collect call from an inmate from the Kenosha County pretrial facility. To accept charges, press 0. To obtain customer service information, this call is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hey. Hey there. What's up? Oh, I got myself a headache here. How come? Oh, is that call? What? That phone call? What phone call? That number I gave you before? Yeah. He wants to do a three-way. So I'm going to have a fight on my hands here, or we let this guy make a three-way phone call. How do you do that? I think you put that flash button. The flash button? Flash, you should have an area code, or you should hear a dial tone. And then let me give you the number again. Okay, hold on. This is BS, but I haven't done a three-way call. Yeah. You hit flash, and then you should get a dial tone, and then you dial this other number, then you hit flash again, and it should connect the two. Okay, 1 second. Okay. What? I don't see a flash button. Oh, you know the same one you'd hit to probably answer. Is there an asterisk on it? You know how to do a three-way call?
Why don't they just Google it? Oh, wait. There's no Google. That's right.
Well, it should be one on there that says flash, or try. Here, you talk to your mother. Okay.
It's wild. I'm driving through the old burnt out portion of Kenosha. Furniture store, DOC building.
Hang on 1 second here.
Okay.
Okay. Talk. Gonna try to make a three-way call. Hit talk.
Okay.
Let me write down this number. I gave it to Baco earlier.
Okay.
But 262.
Okay, 262.
247.
247.
2437.
2437.
Yep.
Okay.
So hit flash. Dial. You'll get a dial tone. Then dial that number.
Okay.
And then
You guys remember the party line? You could like call in and like get like a bunch of random people, or you could all call in and like have like a big group chat.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Still got me.
What's up, Diana? So, you guys, I'm heading into court right now. Well, I'll be pulling up here in a second to kind of sit in on the last little bit.
Okay. Huh. It's not. Did you get a dial tone when you hit flash?
No. Let me try it one more time. Okay.
I'll give his parents this, man. They are down. You know what I mean? They've been. I mean, his dad's like, I'm not trying to get caught up, but you know what the business is, and he's like, Dad, you know what the business is. They both know what the business is. It's wild. They finally tore down the Italian restaurant that burned down.
You there?
Yeah.
Okay. No, it won't work.
Did I? Okay. That's when you hit the talk button, right?
Right.
Is there another flash button around there or something that says flash somewhere in that cordless?
Somewhere around
it
there.
says flash, but I hit flash and I don't get a dial tone.
Okay, when you hit flash, you don't get a dial tone.
Right.
Okay. Is there a talk button on there? Does it say talk?
Yeah, I've got a talk button.
Okay, try the talk button.
Okay. I hit talk and I don't get a dial tone either.
Okay, you just don't get any kind of a dial tone.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, you got a cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Try dialing that number on the other cell phone. Is it the cordless phone you're using? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna
I tried
head
on my cell
in,
phone.
so bear with me
What am
for a
I
minute. I
trying to
might have
get?
to tune out, and you'll just have
Oh,
to
this guy's
watch,
called
but
us. There's a guy here's trying to get a hold
via
of his wife.
court regulations. So.
And so just trying to.
Oh, okay. Is it a local number?
Okay. What's that?
Is it a local number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 262.
Do I have to do a dial 262?
Yeah, 262-247-2437, and then put like the cell phone on speaker and just flip them around.
But what?
Take the two phones and flip them around so the headset's by the voice piece.
Okay.
I guess.
Mhm.
Okay. See if you can get him on the phone. This is unbelievable.
Mhm. What am I supposed to do if she answers?
Just know her Dave wants to talk to her. I
Okay.
don't know. Yeah, just hold the phones together and I'll put him on.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm. Hello? Just 1 minute, please. Dave wants to talk with you. Okay. Okay, I'm putting her on.
All right. Hello? Hello? Did you flip the phones around? Hello? 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 Oh, yeah, it's my mom. Oh, well, yeah. She's having a hard time here. Yeah, she does. Hello? 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 Hello?
Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
You have her on the other phone?
Hello? Hello? Okay. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. She's there, but he is not.
Okay. No, he's here.
Okay.
He's here. He wants to talk to her.
Can't he call her?
She's got to put money on the phone so he can.
Okay. 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 I'm sorry. I
Here, tell you
am
what, Mom.
a mother of someone who called from there. He wants to talk with you, but you evidently have to put money in for him to talk to you. Okay, sir. Bye-bye. Okay.
Okay. What's that?
Okay.
She's got
So
that?
then you know you need to put the money in, correct?
Hey, Mom?
Okay.
Hey, Mom?
Sure. Bye-bye.
Mom, hang on. Don't
Okay, she's going to put the money in.
Okay, she's still there?
No.
Okay.
I think she wasn't quite sure that what she had to do, or maybe she just had run out and didn't know that.
Okay. Oh, she ran out and then...
That's what it sounds like. But she said she was going to put the money in, so that's all I can do. Right?
Yeah. Call her back real quick. He wants to ask her one question real quick. And I'm just going to let you relay it, okay?
Okay.
So try that one more time. We'll be done with this.
Okay. One second.
Okay.
Two, 247 2437.
Okay. There you go. Tell you what, I'm just going to hand the phone over to this guy. His name is Dave.
Okay.
You got his wife on the phone, so.
Okay. It's dialing right now.
Okay. But then you can just relay. If you can't get the phones working right, just, if you got a quick question, you can try it that way. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello, Dave.
Hey, how you doing, Ms. Jensen? Sorry.
I'm doing that just fine.
Like this. I'm just trying to get a little bit of information out of my wife here. That's all. That's all.
Okay. Now, I talked with her. She might be on the phone trying to put more money in.
Is she on the line now?
Okay. I got voicemail on it right now. They might be on the phone or something.
Could you try her cell phone for me, please?
Pardon?
Could you dial her cell phone for me, please?
I sure can. Hang on 1 second. Okay.
It's 414.
Okay.
531 5048.
5048. 48.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to just relay the question to her?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is she on there?
No, she's not. It's dialing.
Okay.
Do you want to? Okay. No, I got voicemail on her cell phone.
On the cell phone?
Do you want me to relay a message?
Okay, guys, just so you know, I'm heading into the courtroom now, so I'm going to turn off the, I'm going to keep the camera off, but we're going to keep the stream running. But I'm going to head in right now
Okay, let me
to
write that down.
sit in on the rest of the trial for the day. So share the stream.
I mean, I had talked with her and told her to put money
I'll
in the
be
account.
popping into the back there, and
okay,
we
did
will,
she do what she was supposed to do this week?
yeah, get a chance to take a look at this individual, you know,
I'm
in
sorry,
person.
did she do what?
She was supposed to do at the police station.
I'm going to talk to you guys here in just a little bit, okay?
And, how long will it be before the phone is right? That's question number 2. And see if you can find out what time my court date is set for Monday. And I really would appreciate it. I truly thank you.
Okay.
Mark will get back with you later for the answers from me.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Ms. Jensen.
Okay.
Here's Mark.
All right. Bye-bye.
What number were you going to move in now?
That was, again, track 3 from 203 ending at minute mark 12:49. That was the entire phone call. This, Judge, is Exhibit 72.
All right, it is received.
I will have to, and I can do this tomorrow, submit a paper transcript of that I'll be moving in as well.
All right. Okay, are we back then to the state's witness?
Yes, we are.
All right, who are you going to call?
The state is calling David Ellis, number 16.
All right, if you could remain standing, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony in this matter to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth shall be God? I do. Thank you. Get as close as you can to the microphone. Spell your first and last name for the reporter.
It's David, D-A-V-I-D, Ellis, E-L-L-I-S.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
Mr. Ellis, in about April of 1996, did you have contact with Mark Jensen and Julie Jensen?
Yes.
And why did you meet with Mark Jensen and Julie Jensen at that time?
I was contacted by, I believe, Mrs. Jensen in reference to a situation where excuse me, there was an issue where someone had been placing pornographic photos around their home, around their neighborhood, and on Mr. Jensen's car at work. And we had a discussion about setting up a surveillance to try to determine who was doing so.
So what was your employment?
At that time, I owned a private investigative agency.
And before opening or before you worked full-time with that private investigation agency, did you work as a police officer?
Yes.
And where did you work?
I started in 1977 in Silver Lake, Wisconsin. In 1978, I went to Kenosha City Police Department, and I left there in 1986.
And then when you left, did you pursue this private investigation business?
Yes, I actually started it in 1984. In 1986, I decided to leave the police department and run the agency full time.
And so did you have some contacts with officers who work for the Pleasant Prairie Police Department?
Yes.
And would those officers sometimes refer people to you?
Yes.
In what context would they refer people to you?
Occasionally, they'd have a case where they felt that it was better suited to have a private investigator work it rather than the police department. Maybe it wasn't a criminal matter. It could have been a civil issue. But that happened a couple of times over the years.
And so that's how in April of 1996, you came in contact with the Jensens?
Yes, I believe that the police department may have referred them to me. I had a close relationship with Paul Ratsberg, Mark Hunter, and Ron Cosman, all of the Pleasant Prairie Police Department.
And so when you met with the Jensens, where did this meeting happen?
At the Jensen home.
And during this meeting, did they inform you of the problem that they wanted you to investigate?
Yes.
Okay, so can you just give us a summary of that?
There was, again, as I mentioned, someone was placing these pornographic pictures around the home and around Mr. Jensen's vehicle. And we had a discussion at their home as to what was happening, when it was occurring. We talked about potentially who might have been doing it. And a result of that discussion, we decided to set up a surveillance on a Friday afternoon.
Now, did they tell you that they believed that this was arising out of an affair that Julie Jensen had had?
Yes.
And so what did you suggest or what did you decide to do to further investigate this?
I conducted a surveillance on a Friday afternoon of Mr. Jensen's vehicle. Nothing occurred during that time. I believe it was roughly from 1 in the afternoon till maybe 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Monday, I contacted the Pleasant Prairie Police Department. I had been given information that they had some photographs in evidence, and I had met with them and requested to look at the photographs to see what the nature of them was, so I knew more so what I was dealing with.
And so did you actually go to the Pleasant Prairie Police Department?
Yes.
And did you view some of the photos from this complaint by the Jensens that was in evidence there?
Yes.
Can you describe for us what those photos from the Pleasant Prairie evidence look like?
There were about a dozen or so, excuse me, photographs, or they weren't actually photographs on photo paper. They appeared to be Xerox copies, either copies of photographs or something that was, my initial thought was that they were printed off the internet and onto photo paper and then possibly second generation copies. They were just photocopies. They were black and white. They were what I would consider kind of poor quality photos. They were, I don't know if I mentioned, they were all pornographic in nature. I can only specifically remember 2 of them. The others, they were pornographic, but I don't remember the exact content.
So, what kind of paper were they on?
Copy paper.
So just normal printer
Normal
paper?
copy paper, yeah.
And you said they were all pornographic, but there was 2 that you recall what the subject matter was. Can you tell us what that was?
Yes, there was 2 photos of a woman performing oral sex on a man. One was a view from the top, as though there may have been, like it was taken from the ceiling down, and the other one was from the side. It would have been the side view of a couple on a bed.
And now you have described to us that there was one Friday afternoon that you did sort of a stakeout of Mr. Jensen's car. Is that correct?
Yes.
And where was his car parked when you were watching it?
It was at an office building on Highway 31. I don't know the address. It was 5600 block of Green Bay Road. And I positioned myself in a little bit to the south, and on the west side of the street, there's a trucking company. And I positioned my vehicle in that parking lot so that I could observe Mr. Jensen's vehicle.
And was this because he had complaints about these images being left on his vehicle at his workplace?
Yes.
And then obviously in the time you were watching, nothing happened?
Nothing, no.
And Mark Jensen was aware that you were surveilling his vehicle at that time, correct?
Yes.
And Julie Jensen was also aware?
Yes.
So then when you actually went to the Pleasant Prairie Police Department and you looked at these photos, what did you decide to do next?
I called Julie Jensen and spoke to her. After I viewed the pictures, I was convinced, or I felt that the photos were not of Julie. So I wanted to discuss that with her, as well as the findings from the surveillance, which was negative.
Now, had Julie Jensen expressed concern or fear that some of these photos were of her?
Yes.
And so you were going to tell her in this call that you saw them and you believe they were not her?
Correct.
And did you have that discussion with her in this call?
Yes.
And what was her response during that discussion?
She thought that the pictures could be her and was kind of leaning towards the fact that they were of her.
Now, in these 2 discussions that you had with Julie Jensen, how would you describe her in terms of her demeanor or how she presented herself?
She was very nice. She was kind of meek, and my reaction, or one of my thoughts, was that when we had the discussion about the photographs and whether it was her or not, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but she seemed a little naive in the sense that I don't know, it's hard to describe. She just, as many points that I pointed out to her that it was my belief that it was not her in the pictures, she wasn't really open to hearing that. It was, she sort of had the idea that it was her, and what I had to say about it really had no bearing on what she thought.
Now, was it your intention to continue this investigation?
Yes.
And so what happened, though, during your phone conversation that you've described?
Julie told me that they wanted to cancel the surveillance.
And so it was just one time and then it was canceled?
Yes.
And did she say to you at all why it was being canceled?
No, she didn't tell me why. She just said that I believe she said they had decided to stop the surveillance.
Now, did you discuss with her any ideas about you continuing the surveillance?
Yes.
And what did you discuss with her?
Well, I had a suspicion that the person that was behind this was Mr. Jensen. And I suggested to her that we tell Mark that we were canceling the surveillance, but we would continue the surveillance, because I thought if it was in fact happening, that there was a good possibility that I would determine that it was her husband that was behind it.
And were you open with Mrs. Jensen about your reasoning here?
Yes.
And so how did she respond to that?
She was a little kind of wishy-washy about it. She said, well, because I had specifically asked her if she entertained the thought that her husband was behind it. And she reluctantly said, well, yes, I've thought that, but I really don't want to go down that road and think that he would do that.
So you made that offer, but she declined it.
Yes.
I've shown you what's been marked as States Exhibit 76. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's my invoice to the Jensens for the 6 hours of work that I performed for them.
And when did you generate this invoice?
That's dated May 1st, 1996.
And was this bill paid by the Jensens?
Yes.
And was that the end of your interaction with them about this issue?
Yes.
Now, at some point after December of 1998, were you contacted by Detective Sergeant Ratsberg of the Pleasant Prairie Police Department?
Yes.
And is that when you learned of Julie Jensen's death?
Yes.
And did he ask you for what you had in terms of your file for when you did this investigation?
Yes.
And really all you had was the invoice?
Yes, I really had nothing other than the initial information that I had written down when I met with the Jensens and a copy of my invoice.
I have no further questions.
Who's doing the cross?
Attorney Krause.
Go ahead.
Mr. Ellis, you met with the Jensens in their home,
Yes.
and they had asked you to conduct some surveillance at Mr. Jensen's work,
Yes.
because that's where Mr. Jensen had found photos on his vehicle.
That's what I was told. Yes.
And you explained to them there was no guarantee that you would catch the person who was leaving the photos.
I don't recall telling them there was no guarantee. I mean,
The person would have had to leave the photos while you were watching.
yes,
And if you weren't there watching, then you wouldn't have been able to see it.
correct.
And you were the one conducting the surveillance.
Yes.
You didn't have anyone with you.
No.
You were alone.
Yes.
So if you had gone away from the parking lot for whatever reason and somebody had left something, you wouldn't have been able to see it
That didn't occur.
because you conducted surveillance for 4 hours.
Right. The entire time. I never left once I got there until 5 o'clock, I believe, when we had predetermined that we would stop.
And I understand that. If you had conducted further surveillance, you would have had to have been there at the time someone left the photos in order to catch them.
Yes,
If you weren't there, you wouldn't have seen it.
of course.
You also spent some time reviewing the photos at the Pleasant Prairie Police Department.
Yes,
And you said there were about a dozen photos,
yes,
and you remember 2 photos.
correct.
And it's based upon your memory of those 2 photos that you had told Miss Jensen that you didn't believe it was her.
Correct.
And I think what you said is that she believed it was her, and there was nothing you could say that would convince her otherwise.
Yes,
What you said had no bearing on what she thought.
correct.
And it was after that conversation with her that you were told that they had decided to cancel the additional surveillance.
Correct.
The time that you spent total in this case was, I think, 6 hours.
Yes,
And that was 2 hours reviewing the photos and meeting with the Jensens,
correct.
and 4 hours with surveillance on the vehicle that Friday afternoon.
Yes,
And the total bill was $1,200.
no, the bill was $180.
I'm sorry, that's correct. Your total, it was, thank you. 4 hours of surveillance was $120, and then 2 additional hours was, the total was $180.
Right, I billed at a rate of $30 an hour.
Thank you. So if they had asked you to conduct surveillance for 1 week, 8 hours a day, it would have been $1,200.
I'll take your word for it.
I used a calculator, so I think that's right. And that was in 1996.
Yes,
And the Jensens understood how much it was going to cost for you to do this surveillance work.
I would assume.
They knew your
would.
hourly rate,
Yes,
and they were fine with that when they brought you on to do this work.
yes,
And after that afternoon and phone call with Julie, they decided not to go any further.
correct.
I want to talk a little bit about the photos that you reviewed at the Pleasant Prairie Police Department. Was there an officer or a detective with you when you looked at the photos?
There were 2 officers. I don't remember who they were.
And did you talk to them about whether they had gotten any prints from the photographs?
No,
Did you ask them if they attempted to get any prints from the photographs?
no,
Is that something that law enforcement will do if they recover evidence and they think they can get prints?
possibly.
You also talked to Julie Jensen about why law enforcement wasn't looking into the phone calls.
I don't recall that.
Do you remember talking to her about getting the phone company's cooperation to get phone records from Perry Tarica?
I don't recall having any discussion about phone calls.
Did you talk to Julie Jensen about whether the police had taken fingerprints or whether they should have?
No,
You said that what you did talk to her about, though, was that she suspected the photos were of her,
yes,
and she had looked at the photos.
I would assume she had seen them.
And you disagreed with her, and you told her that when you talked to her on the phone.
Yes,
She told you that she believed it was her based upon the subject matter in the photos.
she believed that the female in the photo could have been her.
You asked her in general if it could be her based on the subject matter in the photos, and she told you yes.
Correct.
And she told you she hadn't taken photos like that with her husband.
I don't recall that.
Now, the Jensens retained you together when you came to their home.
Yes,
And Mr. Jensen and Miss Jensen agreed to pay your fee.
yes,
And when you submitted the bill, they did pay your fee.
yes,
it was only after the conversation that you had with Miss Jensen and not Mr. Jensen that she canceled the surveillance.
Yes.
You didn't talk to Mr. Jensen after that.
No.
Nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Can you redirect?
So just to clarify, you said that you assumed that Julie Jensen had seen the photos,
Yes.
but you don't know that for sure.
No, I don't.
And you don't know if she's the person who actually recovered the photos or if Mark Jensen recovered them.
No, I have no idea. I just became aware that some of the photos were in the hands of the Pleasant Prairie Police Department. How they got there, who found them, I have no idea.
And so what you do know is that she was afraid she was in the photos.
Excuse me?
She was afraid that she was in the photos.
She was very concerned, yes.
I have no further
Any
questions.
cross on those questions?
Briefly, when you met with them about the photos, where they were recovered and who they were recovered by, you understood that it was kind of sporadic. They weren't all left at the same place at the same time.
No, I had no idea when they were left. I didn't know if it happened once, 100 times. I don't know. I have no idea.
You didn't get that information from them.
No, I didn't.
And when you talked to Miss Jensen about who was in the photos, you asked her if it could be her based on the photos and the subject matter, and she told you it could be.
Yes.
Nothing further. Thank you, sir.
All right, your excuse. Thank you.
So I move States Exhibit 76. And then, Judge, we have one more, we think, quick witness.
One more quick witness. 76 is received.
Gretchen Rosenke, and I think on your list she's number 63, Your Honor.
Thank you. You have your remain standing, raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. You solemnly swear the testimony is meant to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Get as close as you can to the microphone. Spell your first and last name.
My name is Gretchen Rosenke. Gretchen is Gretchen. Rosenke is Rosenke.
Go ahead, Mr. Jamboys.
Good afternoon, Ms. Rosenke. In 2007 and 2008, by whom were you employed?
The public defender's office
And in what capacity?
as an assistant attorney,
You were an attorney or an assistant state public defender?
an assistant state public defender, yes.
So you weren't an assistant to an attorney, you were an attorney.
Right, correct, as an attorney, yes.
And as of 2007 and 2008, how long had you been with the public defender's office?
I want to say about a year and a half or maybe 2 years at most.
Now, during that course of time, did you come to represent a person named Aaron Dillard?
I did.
And do you recall receiving a letter from Aaron Dillard at some point?
Yes, I do.
And what did he ask you to do in that letter?
Well, a couple of things. He wanted me to come and talk to him because he had gotten some information regarding the Mark Jensen case, but he also had wanted me to reach out to the assistant district attorney that I was working with to let them know that he might have some information.
And did you end up reaching out to the state in this matter?
I did.
Do you remember who you talked to?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Do you recall talking to me at some point?
Yes, that I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you talked to another assistant DA first, and then you end up talking to me?
Yes, it might have been at the time, Attorney Gabrielle.
And when you called to talk to me, what did you tell me?
I believe I told you something to the effect that my client had indicated that he had had conversations with Mark Jensen, and based on those, he had some information regarding Jensen's case.
And what was your impression of my reaction to the fact that Mr. Dillard had wanted to talk to me?
As I recall, you were a little bit skeptical about that.
What happened next?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while, but I'm sure I met with Aaron just to get a very clear understanding of what it is, what kind of information it was that he had.
Do you recall me asking you for an example of what Aaron Dillard had said to you?
Yes,
And did you read a portion of the letter he had sent to you?
I did.
And what was my response immediately after hearing that portion of the letter?
I believe you wanted to set up an interview with Mr. Dillard.
At some point thereafter, did we have an interview?
We did.
And who was present for the interview, if you can recall?
Okay, well, it would have been you, of course, me, Mr. Dillard, and I believe one other assistant DA from Kenosha County. I'm not sure who.
So was there one interview or more than one interview?
There were 2 interviews, I believe.
Okay, where did the first interview take place?
I think it took place at the Kenosha County Jail, but, out of the main population, like in a separate room.
And where did the second interview take place?
I don't remember.
Now, you were present for both of these interviews.
Yes, I was.
And what was the purpose of these interviews?
Well, Aaron had received some information because he had been talking to Mark Jensen. They had kind of struck up, we'll say, a relationship of sorts in the jail. They were just, hanging out. And according to Aaron, Mark had
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained. For the truth of the matter asserted, Your Honor, I'm asking about the circumstances surrounding this interview.
Well, then ask that question.
So, well, tell me this. Did either Ms. Gabrielle or myself ever supply any information to Aaron Dillard?
No.
We were asking Aaron Dillard what happened.
Correct. Yes.
Now, before these interviews occurred, did you talk to Aaron Dillard about this?
Yes, I did.
And did you give him any advice as to what he should say or do?
Not to what he should, just in terms, just be truthful. I mean, whatever information, it should be truthful, but otherwise, no.
I'll show you this document that's marked as State Exhibit S69.
Okay.
And ask you to take a look at that. I'll ask you questions about it in a moment.
All right.
Have you read through the letter, ma'am?
Got a little bit more to go. It's kind of a long one.
You don't need to read the whole letter. What I want you to know is, from what you've seen of the letter, can you identify that letter?
Yes, I can.
What is that?
That is a letter that Aaron Dillard sent to me.
And when Aaron Dillard sent you that letter, where was he located?
I believe he was in custody.
And when you got that letter, what did you do with it when you first received the letter?
I don't exactly remember. I mean, I read it, obviously, and then I believe I reached out to an assistant DA in Kenosha County.
And then you ultimately ended up speaking with me.
Yes.
Did you get consent from Mr. Dillard to provide me a copy of that letter?
I did.
And you provided me a copy of the letter.
I did.
Now, during either one of these interviews, did either then Assistant District Attorney Angelina Gabrielle or myself, did either one of us ever provide any information to Aaron Dillard?
Objection asked and answered.
Go ahead and answer it one more time.
No, you did not.
And who was providing the factual information during the course of this interview?
It was Mr. Dillard.
Did anybody else provide any factual information to Mr. Dillard during the course of this interview?
No.
No further questions of
Who's
this
doing
witness.
across? Go ahead, Mr. Perry.
Mr. Rosenke, what information did you review in advance of your testimony today?
I did review a copy of the transcript from the last hearing of just my testimony, nothing else.
Now, the letter that's in front of you, it's still in front of you, right?
Correct, yes.
That's State's Exhibit 69. That wasn't sent directly to you, was it, from Mr. Dillard?
I'm not sure. I was his attorney, so I'm thinking he did send it to me.
It was faxed from his wife to you, correct?
Oh, okay. I think so, yes.
Mr. Dillard was in prison at the time, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember what prison?
No, I don't.
And it's your understanding that this letter was mailed to his wife, correct?
Yes.
And then from his wife, it was faxed to you.
Yes.
Did you say that you, after receiving this letter, went and met and discussed this with Mr. Dillard?
I think I would have at some point.
Did you travel to whatever prison he was in to meet with him?
I honestly don't remember.
You represented Mr. Dillard at that time on the pending reconfinement matter?
Yes.
On that case, he was facing 4 years, 6 months?
Yes.
That was the recommendation from the agent, correct?
I believe the agent was recommending the max on all of the cases that he was revoked on.
Did you represent him on the theft by contractor and home improvement fraud case?
Yes.
And did you also represent him on his pending obstructing charge?
Yes.
No further questions.
Can you redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you're excused. Thank you.
Next witness, Your Honor, was the Kenosha County Medical Examiner in 2005 to 2008, and her testimony is expected to take a lot longer than 15 minutes.
I think it's a good time to go home, folks. Remember, don't talk about the case. See you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Out of the courtroom. Then I take it, Mr. Genway, that's going to be Mary Malin, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, we're holding the jury. The defendant can go
Judge.
back.
Just a quick question. We had all of our witnesses prepared for Wednesday after changing everything. I don't think I'll be able to get anyone, depending on what happens with Mary Mainland, if this is like halfway through the afternoon. I mean, I guess I could play a video, but
We're going to do something. We're not just going to sit here. You told me a few days ago, we got to get this case done.
and I agree, but we didn't, but they gave us a list of 130 people and we've actually had people change their plane tickets
We're going to
now.
do something.
That's fine. I'm just letting the court know that it might be a video in the afternoon because we might not have a witness.
We
here.
can break the Judge Milosauskas rule.
Okay. I just wanted the court to know.
All right, thank you.
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me here. Okay.